Here's the deal. I mean, I think you did a fine job, but nobody cares about basketball right now. No, I don't care if you're Kentucky. They had a shitty year. Nobody cares. I got to go, man. Good luck. Hey, guys, what up? It's your boy, JG. I am the Commodore / publisher of AuburnSports.com, and we are back live with you on the Brain Drain. We've not had a show since early March, and it feels good to be back. I was totally out of practice. Like when I was starting up the show, I was like, what do I do next? What have I forgotten to do? I forgot to put out the social. So much pressure. I don't know what to do. But we persevered and we made it through. And you know what they always say?
Sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be shit.
That's all I can promise you. I can just promise you sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit. Let's get on over to our football pane and see what's going on over here. I've got some stuff set up for you guys. Got the new schedule set up. Hopefully we'll have the chat pop up here in a second. That would be great. That would be wonderful. And, yeah. S-Sim, what an absolute badass. Thank you for jumping in, sir. With the first super chat of, I guess, the new year. Yeah, the new year. The new football season. A. Robinson says, you've been missed. I missed you, bro. Thank you. I see a lot of familiar faces in the chat. People we know and love and adore. So many great ones. Captain, obviously smarter than you. I feel like I know that avatar, but I forgot what it is. J. Rob A. You in the house. Chip, my main man. Cleveland Brown jumping in with a super chat. Thank you, sir. He says, good to have the drain. Good to have a drain. It's been too long. Indeed it has. We need to do these more often, and we will. Yes, Cleveland, thank you, bro. Appreciate you. And, of course, SM0008 jumping in earlier as well. Brandon T in the house. J. Rob in the house. We are late in the second quarter here of the A-Day game. I wasn't really planning on running this during the game, but some people thought it was a good idea, and so I was like, hell, I'm ready to go, so we'll just run it. The things that have stuck out to me so far, run blocking's been pretty good, or you could say run defense has not been very good. Fromm catching the first pass of the game. The first pass from Bo Nix was interesting. It was interesting. Do I need to bump that font size up a little bit there? I think I do. There's a throw to Mr. Fromm. That was, looks like we got a little talk in there, huh? Bo Nix overthrowing a wideout. I know that's something that we don't see very often. Collins M, my main man in the house. I've missed you, bro. I'm glad to see you back here. Sam H jumps in with a super chat. Says, this is from Dogecoin bank account. Hey now. Hold on. I got one for you right there, buddy. Yeah. Good stuff, bro. Glad to see you, Sam. You're an absolute beast. Okay, so today so far it's kind of been, Tank had that touchdown run earlier, and he's looked really good. Obviously, he's a great football player. Sean was running the ball well earlier as well. V8 Blazin just got a carry right there, but he got hammered by Zeke and others. Looks like Wesley Steiner as well, and on the stop. That's where I am in this game. I'm watching it on the internet since they didn't put it on the SEC network. Boom. And so I might be behind where you guys are. I don't know. Jacob says, so far, solid. Poopy Doopy in the house says, drain my thing. Glad to have you, brother. Oh, man, stoked about that. Seen a lot of work from JJ today so far. There's a throw up the seam and dropped by the aforementioned JJ. Got to pull that ball in. This defense is already looking a little you're seeing some third teamers in there right now. There's not necessarily. It's number 5 wideout will always be JF3 to me, but or is that Cope? Yeah, whatever. Willboy AU says, hey now. Man, I'm so stoked just to be back here with you guys. Chip says the numbers on the back of the helmets aren't peeling off yet. So there's that. Just step in the right direction, there's no doubt. I think, you've seen some under center stuff today, which you would never see with Gus, obviously, not even at the 2-yard line. It's part of the problem. So you have seen some under center stuff, and some of the run paradigms just look a little bit different. They're still running counter and power a lot, but I don't know, just something about it. The execution seems a little bit different. Bo looks more or less the same to me. I don't know if you guys have seen or noticed the same thing with Bo. He just kind of looks like regular Bo, which to me is not bad. It's just, it is what it is, you know. Let me see what I've got here. Oh, yeah, the chat box. I was going to change the font on that. Just bump the font size up just a shade there. Let's see if that picks up. We were usually, last year we were using the basketball. Well, there's a long pass. That ball was knocked away. Coverage from Jalen looked like. Yeah, a little bit bigger there. Elijah says baseball predictions. First of all, glad to see you, bro. I don't know what the prediction would be. Let's see. We've got the series today's the rubber game in the series, right? And baseball obviously had a very difficult start to the conference season, losing a lot of one-run games. I think they were 1-7 in one-run games until, I think they still are now. I still think they're going to be okay. They've got some issues. It happens. Haven't necessarily noticed a lot, like going on here. I mean, they're just playing basic football, which is exactly what we would have expected, right? Let's see. S-Sim says Allen still can't get any love on the football board. You have to kind of, you got to give me a little more context on that one. You talking about AG? Cleveland says defense always tends to have better games during A-Day than offense. That's absolutely true, particularly when you're starting out with a new system like this. That's a throw right there. That's, that kind of like that little dig route on the inside receiver. I always thought that was there for Gus, and he was always scared to throw it. And we've seen a few throws like that today. So maybe they're going to be a little bit more, maybe those days of not attacking the middle of the field are over. Chip says, what number is Pegues wearing now? It's a good question. I know he was in a different number recently. I just don't remember what it was. How has Zeke been looking? Have you guys been watching him? Okay, there's another unnecessary back foot throw, but he got it in there. I think that's that's an arm talent throw right there. One man's opinion. I now have the ability to favorite a comment. I don't know what it does, because the company I use to do the streaming is called Ecamm, and they change things. They do a great job of updating. I mean, I'd say like once a month they send out updates on. Everything sounds horrible. What? What does that mean? J. Rob A. says mistakes look the same to me. I tend to agree with you on that. Jacob says back foot. He's doing it again. Yeah, he just has this thing, man. He just loves kind of floating backward and throwing it off his back foot. But that was a hell of a throw. You got to give him credit for that. Maybe against a defense that wasn't as – I mean, Auburn's a good defense, but they've just been going against this offense so long. Go against a different one. Cleveland says, what are you drinking on, JG? I don't have anything with me at the moment. I'm going to be honest with you. Your boy went deep last night. I went deep last night. We drank a lot last night. There's a nice throw right there. Little tunnel screen to number 5. I actually started drinking some Casamigos, which I know tequila is not my game, and it's not going to be my game, but we were drinking it the other night. It's really good, man. I mean, tequila, to me, I drank it in college, and it was terrible, right? I was probably drinking the cheapest tequila around, and I promised that I would never do it again. And so we started drinking it again 30 years later, and it's good, man. We had the Casamigos Añejo, and it's good. So I started there, and then we drank some other stuff. But I don't know if you guys saw it on the Twitter. Me and my homie Cuzzo, who lives across the street from me now, we're sharing. We have joint custody over a bottle of straight from the barrel Blanton's. 130 proof Blanton's. It's actually tagged for the Japanese market. And we've got a bottle we're going to share. So that's that's some of our new stuff. I'm going to go ahead and favorite this comment from you, Cleveland Brown, because it's great, and I don't know what it does. I hit favorite, but I can't really tell what it does. But anyway, maybe you get some love or commendation wherever you're watching this from, whether it's YouTube or somewhere else. I don't know. I do want to say, guys, I've really missed seeing y'all and doing these shows, and we will be picking them back up. I just felt like, when softball was playing a bunch of garbage teams and baseball was playing preseason and basketball was over and football was doing practice, but, there wasn't much to talk about. I don't know. I just didn't feel like we had a lot to do, but that's changing. All right, let's see what happens here. Bo's thinking about throwing. There's Pegues right there. So he's still wearing 89. It's a nice run by Bo. But again, kind of typical. I don't know. Let's see. Cleveland Brown says the Casamigos not familiar with Blanton's. Oh, wow. You got to know what Blanton's is. Brandon T says we've missed you exponentially. Dude, I appreciate that, bro. Even if it's not true, it's a very nice thing for you to say. Yeah. Nice little run from Bo. These 8A games are so weird. Quarterback runs. When you're playing a real football game and a quarterback runs, he's got his life in his hands, right? In an 8A game, it's like powder puff for the quarterbacks. And so it's hard to gauge if that was a good run or not. I don't know. Anyway, under center at the 4, which is something you wouldn't see, a little pitch. Oh, they're doing a little reverse pass. JJ looking for Bo Nix. I think the defense have seen that one before. Cleveland says I'm not a Bourbon guy. Sorry. Hey, no apologies needed, brother. Not everybody is. Maybe I can convert you into overtime, or maybe not. I don't know. Jacob says Nix does have some wheels. Would be good to integrate that into the game planning in a way that makes sense. Okay, I'm glad Gus is gone. Planned quarterback runs or delayed runs can help the OL out too. They did some of that last year, but you're right. I think we'll see if Bobo can be a little bit sharper. It's hard for me to take the 8-day game seriously, though. It's just they're just messing around. The kids aren't. They're playing hard, but they've seen each other. Oh, you see number 12 out there in the defense, and I think Brandon Cox. Sorry, that's who number 12 is going to be for me forever, I reckon. JJ Pegues pressuring JJ on that throw right there. Give him credit to big number 89. Captain, obviously smarter than you, says Bo's bad habits are so instilled, I don't think they can be corrected in a few weeks. I agree with you 1,000%, brother. LO 4 times says 5 is Kobe Hudson. Thank you for that. I will try to keep that in mind. I'm a little frazzled here. I'm sorry. And Rob J let me know that as well. 5 Kobe Hudson. I thought that was JJ. My bad. One of the problems with COVID is that I haven't spent hardly any time around these kids, and so the ones that like the older performers, I would know them from the years gone by, but now a guy like Kobe, who was a really low key player last year. Normally, the spring is when I would be hanging around him and kind of getting to know him, and I would know him by looking at him, and I haven't. So there's like a big blank spot in my head where guys like Kenyon, Kobe, J.J. Evans, and I'm naming wideouts, but it could be players at any position, really. Tisdall, that I just haven't spent any time around him, so it's hard for me to – I just miss him in the games, Sucks. It's part of one of the things that's really messed me up professionally. But, hey, man, there's people out there sick and dying from COVID. I'm not trying to be like that about it. Jacob says number 5 is always going to be Karsten Bailey. I was lucky enough to cover him. There we go. There's a catch. I was lucky enough to cover Karsten his last year at Auburn. That defensive back was very, very close to making that play, but not quite. There goes Kirk Sampson, Auburn's longtime football publicist. I also saw a bunker hero, Rich McGlynn, on the sideline earlier. You guys are fired up about that. Captain, obviously smarter than you, says my avatar is Popcorn Sutton, the old moonshiner from the Appalachian Mountains, Jay. All right, very good. I'm not ashamed to say that some of my people were moonshiners. Not in, I guess they were in Appalachia. They were in Kentucky. They were in the flatlands of Kentucky. I don't know if you saw the cameraman about got his ass taken out late in the first quarter on a scramble from Bo Nix. Bo had to kind of elude the cameraman. That's a hell of a throw. Again, he's kind of off his back foot, isn't he? Yeah, he's off his back foot again, and he doesn't really have to be, but it's a hell of a throw. And the one we talked about earlier, the unnecessarily back foot throw that was completed was also to number 17. So obviously they've got a little something going there, him and Canyon. J-Rob at AU91 says running for his life in the 8A game. If you're talking about the touchdown, that was designed. I don't necessarily think he was running for his life. I've talked about this. I hope you guys are watching the War Report. Hey, I saw Alan Green there in the background. Where is he? There he is. That's his jacket right there. Just roaming the sidelines like a boss. Here we are. So that whole thing went down with getting Harsin hired. What's that? Mid-December, and I mean we did a lot of brain drains about that, and we've talked about it. And there's nothing I can tell you now that you don't already know. I don't think, but the longer this goes, the more there you go. It's going to be a touchdown. The more you see that Allen really has done some things here. I mean, he really went away from orthodoxy to hire Harsin, and it's starting to really look like this is going to be at least an intriguing choice for head coach. We can talk about that. We got hours to talk about that. Abbott Goldies says, as a former Missourian, I'm a big fan of Eat Out Missouri. please put the comma in the right place there, brother. That's the segment we do on the G-Pits podcast, the greatest pod in the South. I do with Neil McCready and Gabe DeArmond, who are publishers, other publishers within the Rivals Network. And I like to highlight one Missouri-based eatery per show. We now call that Eat Out, Missouri. Thank you for listening to the show, sir. LO 4 times says, like the crossing routes as contrasted with the 50-50 jump balls we're used to seeing. Well, I'll tell you what I like. Let's just throw it up. See what happens. Like that. Okay, Coach, is that really that's our approach? Well, that's wrong. Seth will win. He'll win. Chip says he likes Tank Bigsby, man. He's really going out on a limb there. Way out on a limb. J-Rob at AU91 says, let's talk Scoot. Let's get to halftime, and I got some basketball stuff to discuss. Owen Papo over there working on the stop. Same with Jacoby. Tank getting some screen time. As he should. Canoe Man says, boom, we draining. Draining. What's up, Canoe? It's been a minute, bro. I mean, it's been a minute since I was on the air. That's all. I know you're on the bunker a lot and appreciate it, brother. So Scoot. Well, hold on. Let me get to halftime. I don't want to break any broadcast covenants by discussing basketball when football's going. Yeah. Canoe Man says he likes Chip. That's really nice. It's appreciated. I know Chip cares about that. I like Chip too. He's pretty cool. We met Chip at the Bunker Voodoo Extravaganza. What was that, about a month ago? 3 weeks ago? Chip was there. Also, some other luminaries, such as DJ HK. And Mobile alum was there. Very energetic young lady. And J-Head was there as well. What a beast. Whew. All right. A-Day's been kind of boring, which is a good way to have A-Day, honestly. Grant Loy hadn't shown me much. Y'all probably haven't thought much of him either. I mean, he's just kind of who he is, you know. And I'm looking forward to seeing Demetrius. Maybe we'll see him in the second half. Captain, obviously smarter than you, says, just a reminder that ESPN is biased for spring games. You mean how they show Alabama instead of Auburn? It's upsetting. Of course, they're in the playoffs all the time, and Auburn's not. So, Chatham says, dude, is that Jay Jacobs above the schedule? It is indeed. We probably need to change that graphic, but I love it so much that it stays, at least for now. Where it says nobody yet. I don't know if you're new to the show, Chat, but where it says nobody yet, when we have calls, we're not taking calls at the moment, but when we do, I put the caller's name up there so everybody knows who it is. I just thought it was a cool way to do it. But we need to figure something else out. That was noted during some of the basketball shows that we did, and just haven't come around with anything really, really cool to do that yet. Chip says, come back soon, JGT, talking about come back to Voodoo Mobile for the show. And the show went well. I think it was received well. Reese Dismukes was our featured guest, and he had some great stories to tell, and Jay Head was there as well to kind of prod him for a little bit more information about different things. And then I had a chance, like a few days later, to see Reese and then his buddy Alex Kozan, a pair of former Auburn Tigers blockers, at one of the practices. And I love Kozan, and so he's gonna. I think we're gonna be able to get him on the show some this summer and then into next season. Kozan, he might be better for what we need him to do on the show. Is one way to put it. Yeah, I wonder if Hunter is watching A-Day. I'll text him right now and see. And if he is, we can get him on the horn and talk to him about what he's seeing. It's a good idea. You're thinking, so JG, shouldn't you have thought of that? Yeah, I should have. All right. Pocket Watch says, Commodore, had no idea this is happening. It's happening, buddy. It's happening right now. And we're going to need more thumbs up if we're going to make this thing work. We've only have 9 thumbs up right now. It's unbelievable. Mobile alum is on the show. How about that? I wasn't expecting that. It says, hey, JG, come back to Mobile and do a game day brain drain. Still rocking those tips, I see. Of course. Got to do that. So I'm going in for a coloring here shortly. Hunter is not watching the A-Day game. And in a very bourgeoisie moment, he says he's working on the boat today. I don't own a boat. Do you guys own a boat? I don't own a boat. He owns a boat. Boats and flows. I'll say boats and flows because I know I would never call his wife or his beautiful daughter a hoe. That's all I'd say. Let's see. Captain, obviously smarter than you, says Mike G hates it when people mention strength and conditioning. No, he loves it. I mean, he might hate it insofar as it annoys him that other people don't respect it enough. They're showing a clip now of AG kicking a field goal from the 3-yard line, I believe. He's very, very proud of this. People on the bunker were surprised that he was able to do that, and I'm like, the guy was a professional baseball player, guys. I mean, he's not some goob. Here he is getting interviewed right now. Alan's the man. I love Alan Green. There is some talk that he is going to be in the fray for the opening at Northwestern University, which I believe he is in the fray for that. But I'm just, when you, all right, Alan Green is a tough guy to get to know. He's a very bright person, and he's also someone who's just kind of naturally skeptical of people. And so, like with Jay Jacobs, when I had a question about some shit, which is whatever, I mean, the things I would ask him about, I mean, just like fundraising and shit like that, he'd give me a straight answer. He'd say, are we off the record? I'd be like, sure. And he'd go, okay, we've raised about 20 million of the 30 we need, or whatever. He'd give you the, and a lot of the 80s I've worked with before, like at University of Kentucky and Alabama, when early in my career when I was here in Montgomery, but I was covering Alabama a little bit. Very straight answers and stuff, right? Alan, you don't really get that. And you kind of have to, you just kind of have to apply principles in your head of what he does and what he thinks about things, and then try to figure out what he's going to do based on that. And I don't think he's leaving Auburn until he feels like he's gotten accomplished what he set out to accomplish. And I don't think he's there yet. I just don't think he's done what he wants to do. So I don't think he's going to be leaving. And maybe you guys don't really care, and you're like, well, if he leaves, fuck it. It would be a loss. But I think he's going to stay. Well, I don't even know if they're going to offer it to him. I don't know. But I don't think he wants to go. So that's that new performance center going exactly where I told him all along it was going to go. And he was like, I don't know. I'm like, yeah, I do. It just made too much sense to go right there, This is on the old track. They're actually, it's the old track all the way up to, there were some tennis courts there on the north part of that. Well, actually, it would be the west part, but the top of that. You're going almost all the way to kinesiology there, and that's a lot of space. See, Hunter's still texting me, though. He says that he's had some, I'm talking about Hunter, Coach Hunter, said he's had some coaching friends sending him text thoughts, coaches who are watching A-Day, and he said that seems pretty mixed. But again, I just don't, A-Day's A-Day, you know. B. Parham says, bro, JGT, thanks for the drain. Thank you, bro. Parham. What an absolute badass. Let's see. Pocket Watch says he's in the group of the lowest paid ADs in the SEC, as in within margin of error. He and a few others are the lowest paid in the SEC. Could be using this to get paid, and justifiably so. You know, I have to say, so we talked a lot during the coaching search about what was going on, and then when it happened, and it was Harsin, and we hadn't even heard that name except for Sterling. Sterling gets a lot of credit for that. He was on the bunker talking about Harsin a long time ago. Obviously, me included, but a lot of reporters got misled, as you know, a lot of the information we thought we had really was fake information. And I told you earlier about Allen and the way that you he's not going to give you answers, but you have to kind of think about the principles he lays out for you. Like, here's my thought on this, this, and this, and it's kind of a generalized thing, and then you have to kind of apply it in your own brain to like, all right, based on what I know about Allen and what's important to Allen, how is he going to adjudicate the situation? And I should have, if I had paid more attention to that, I would have figured out what was going on. But in our business, we're almost like Pavlov's dogs, where it's like, you know, we've got sources that are like on tiers. We've got, you know, guys that like, or girls too, in some cases, when they tell me something, you can take it to the bank. I got 2 or 3 people like that. Then you got people that are like mostly right. Then you have people that are 50-50, and then you have people that hit once in a blue moon, you know. And with Allen, like he's more insulated than most, certainly more than Jay Jacobs. And so I should have thought about, okay, Allen's not leaking to anybody. So I should not be concerned with or I need to put less credence into what the sources are saying, and I've got to use my head. Because my head tells me that he is going to want to get away from what the powers that be want him to do, because it's kind of an ill situation. It was. And you could argue it still is, but it's just like, and you guys know what I'm talking about. You kind of have like that group of power players that were kind of steering everything, and Jay in a lot of ways was just kind of a patsy. And Allen ain't going to play that game. And he refuses to be that guy, and I should have just thought about that more. I did think about it, but I didn't let it guide me. Anyway, I'm just kind of babbling. This is what I do when we're doing this. Super Chat came through just a moment ago from one of our all-timers, the Canoe Man. It says, please smash the like button. Look at that, man. He gets a Super Chat, and he begs you guys to just give a thumbs up. Corey Dub, my main man, whom I have met. He and his lovely wife, whose name I will redact from this because I'm not trying to out you, bro, although you are using your name. Had a chance to go out to dinner with Corey and his lovely wife about 3 weeks ago. And my wife, we were there. And really enjoyed it. Good dude. Good dude. Probably could whip a lot of asses here. Willie boy, I got you, bro. We're going to talk basketball for a second. All right. So I updated the basketball board here. We were talking about, I think the last brain drain, I was wanting to do this, and it was all messed up and crooked, and I just didn't do a very good job with it. So we got it all put back together. To me, based on what I'm seeing right now, this is the depth chart that I think they're looking at, okay? And I know for some of you guys who are big football people, you're going to be like, who's this? Because you're not paying that much attention. I got 11 dudes on this board right here, plus JT and Signy X, okay, because those are in flux at this point. At point guard, you got Zep Jasper, the kid that transfers in as a senior. He may have 2 years of eligibility left, though, but he's played a good bit at College of Charleston. Played every minute of last season at point guard. He is used as a point guard by the Cougars, but he has some height. I think he's 6'1"-ish. And he, earlier in his career, was a very good three-point shooter. He's like a 38er. Last season, he was down to like 32%, but it was a weird season for them. They had a couple long COVID stoppages, basically, and it just got him out of rhythm. And he just had a weird year, and his team had a weird year, and I don't know. But I still think Zepp could play shooting guard if needed, and I think he's a good enough shooter where he would be a benefit there. Wendell G., which I love. If you guys are REM fans from the old days, they did have a song on Fables of the Reconstruction called Wendell G. But anyway, Wendell Green Jr. Is a transfer from Eastern Kentucky University. He's going to be a sophomore this coming season. He is from Detroit, and he played his freshman year at EKU. He's a little shorter. Good player, though. And as soon as I found out that they were kind of talking to Wendell, I was like, that's the guy that I would go get. Not excluding everybody else, but I just thought he was a guy you need. He's a very broad base of skills. We'll talk about this in more specificity later. I've got a little graphic set up for it. He's got a broad base of skills. He's a good shooter. He was insanely good the second half of EKU's season. I want to say he was 45% from three the second half of the season. As he was settling in and understanding his role with what they were doing. AU Pooch in the house. What's up, Mads? Where you at? I didn't know you were coming in. Hold on, guys. My daughter's here. Good to see you. Are you leaving here in a minute? Yeah. Don't drive my car. No, you're not taking shit. No. No, you're not taking it. Be good. She's stopping here on her way through. It's good to see her. I haven't seen her in a minute. Okay, so I was saying about Wendell G. Second half of the season, 45% three-point shooter. I want to say 10 of his last 19 games, he had at least 20 points. I mean, the dude was absolutely balling out. Let's see, Jeff J says Xavier Pinson might be coming to Auburn. No, he's not coming. Auburn kind of backed away from him. Not that they don't like him. It's just that they just felt like they had other stuff. And if you look at this tote board, he would be a point guard, and they love Zepp, and they love Wendell. And if Scoot Henderson ends up being Signy X, then there's just no room for Pinson. Shooting guard, I'm not as thrilled about this. Devin as the starter there. I'm not the world's biggest Devin fan. I like him, but he is what he is. And, his first year, he had these really high ups and downs, and his highs were really good. He had some 25-point games where he was like 7 of 8 from 3 or whatever. But he didn't really have many of those last year. It was like we were kind of all banking on him being good, and then he was just so-so, and he never really had those big games. So I don't know, man. To me, he's a backup. And then you got Trey Alexander coming in, true freshman from Heritage Hall High School, or Heritage Hall Prep, I guess, in Oklahoma City. Canoe Man says, pause the show if your daughter's there. Bro, it's all good, man. I mean, I'll see her. I love you guys. At 3, you got a Flanagan, who I happen to really like. I know he's opinions are split on him in general. But I think when he's playing the position he should be playing, which is 2-3, he's really good. When he was playing point guard, he sucked. But that's not even his fault, and I don't hold that against him. He's not a point guard. Doesn't want to be a point guard. And then Chris Moore behind him. I love Chris Moore. That's the kind of quality depth you need. I like he has a broad base of skills as well. He can do some banging. He can do some shooting. He can do some offensive rebounding. He's pretty good in transition. I think he's a really good guy to have in the system. And as a coach that I know once said, you can't have 13 assholes. You've got to have some good kids too, and Chris Moore is a good kid. At power forward, Jabari Smith, who is there. Look at that, Ronnie Brown. What a beast. Look how big and thick he is. Damn. Jabari, 5-star, top 5 player in the class coming up, and son of Jabari, who played at LSU back around 1999, is coming in, and I think he's going to start. Now, this is where things start getting a little hairy because Jalen Williams played a whole lot of minutes at power forward this past season. Where does he end up? If Jabari comes in and he's the player that I think he is, he's going to be like a lottery pick type player, and he's going to displace Jalen. I mean, he's going to take minutes away from Jalen. And to me, Jalen's not a 5. I think he's a 4, and I don't think he's a 3 either. I think he's straight up 4. So if we keep going here, Cardwell, I love him at center. I understand there could be some people that think he sucks because there's some things that you think he would be better at, but I love him, and I think he's going to take a big step this season. You got Walker Kessler, 7'1", center, 5-star, top 20 player. had a really nice freshman season at North Carolina. It was up and down. He had an incredible game against Notre Dame in the ACC tournament, and then after that, it's kind of hit or miss with him. But he has rare skills for a kid that size, and he's not some stiff back-to-the-basket dude. He is a modern-day center, face-up guy, has a good shooting touch, and we'll talk about this a little bit later in the show, but he has a really interesting offensive profile. The things that he did well at North Carolina he did really, really well. Specifically offensive rebounding, and his play in transition was insane. And then you've got Stretch Akingbola, who to me is, just depth. And again, you don't want 13 assholes. You need some good kids too, and Stretch is a good kid. I have these two over here in the corner, right under BP's armpit. I got JT Thor in parentheses. JT has look at him dancing. I like people having fun. It's nice to see. Okay, JT Thor has said he's going to the draft, the NBA draft. He has not hired an agent, at least as of yet, so he could come back. I know there's a lot of people that think, oh, he's not ready to go. He's going to be back. I pump the brakes on that because I think he would really like to play professional basketball next year. Some kids just don't like going to class, guys. And I think JT's one of those. He's not a dummy. I just don't think he likes going to class. And I think he would rather play basketball for a living if he can. If the situation works out and it's like, you're probably not going to go to the NBA, you're going to have to play in Lithuania and then hope to kind of parlay that. But if you go back to school for 1 year, we think we can get you higher in the draft, then maybe he comes back. I don't know. But if you were asking me right now, I think it's unlikely that he comes back. So then if you have JT back, he's definitely going to be playing. I don't think he's be playing ahead of Jabari, but it would be, I guess, him and Cardwell and Kessler vying for minutes at 5, and it just gets really full. And then Jalen finds himself even further down the list, which is bad. And then I have Signy X. I think they're going to add somebody else too. If it's Scoot Henderson is the number one choice, does not matter who it is. If Scoot Henderson says he's ready to commit, he gets that spot, and that's that. Scoot is a point guard 100%. So at that point, if it was Scoot Henderson, I would move him into the first point guard spot. I would move Jasper into the shooting guard spot ahead of Devin, I think. These half-speed kickoff returns are killing me. And I understand why they're doing it. I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying. So that's kind of the way I see things playing out right now on the basketball side. This roster is sick. It's got some really amazing talent here. To me, the one that sticks out is Cambridge. I don't love Cambridge, and I don't know what to expect from Trey yet. Trey's a high 4-star guy. He's like a top 75 player. I have no doubt he's got a lot of ability, and he's a shooter. He's a real shooter. But, sometimes kids come in. I thought that Bryce was going to be like that when he first came in. He was not a 4-star. He was a 3-star, but I knew that Bryce is an incredible shooter. But it took him a while, It took Jared a little while too, So I don't know if Trey can come right in and just be an absolute pimp right away. Let's see. Willboy says that's the move, and then bump Devin to back up 2-3. Yeah. So you're talking about trying to get Scoot. Hey, I'll just basically move him around. So you would put Zepp there. Cambridge, Alexander. I'm just going to stack them because I don't really know how you would deal with that. And then you put Signy X right there, which would be Scoot. You put him there, and then that's what you'd be looking at right there. And that's a really ridiculous group of players right there. I got a full thing. I wouldn't mind some bourbon though. You want to bring me that Four Roses? Yeah, I know. I need to finish that off. If you look at that first run, I mean, you got Scoot, who's a 5-star. Jabari's a 5-star. Kessler's a 5-star. So you could have 3 McDonald's All-Americans right there in a row. Well, actually, Scoot's not a McDonald's All-American. He would be. He's kind of in a weird spot with high school where he's actually a 22 graduate, but he's thinking about reclassifying to be a 21 graduate. We just don't know how. It really looks like it's between Auburn and the G League. I mean, so I don't know. Mobile alums, his thoughts on Walker. I think a lot of him. He's kind of an odd player. His number one best skill at North Carolina last year was offensive rebounding, which is a great thing to have. And he really wasn't like an number one player for them until later in the season. So it's kind of hard to judge him, but he's a great offensive rebounder, and he's really good in transition. I know he's 7'1", he's a big dude, but he just knows he's a guy that just has really good offensive understanding, just in general. He knows how to position himself. He's got a lot of moves. He's got a nice shooting touch. And then offensive rebounding wise, he's kind of got that Rodman like doom, doom. He just kind of reads caroms well, and he's good at fighting out and using his ass to knock people around and establish position. Here's an interesting formation Gus would never use. Although that's a formation you see from Georgia, or used to. They burned Auburn with that formation a bunch. Less we say about that throw, the better. Anyway, Kessler he's good, and I just want to see how they're going to use him. I think North Carolina underutilized him. But that's a good group of players right there, guys. And, again, Scoot is kind of a put. I mean, they don't have Scoot yet. And some things are going to happen to have him be the point guard at Auburn next year. But it's a good group of players. This is a really good roster there. Mobile Alum asks, some folks say this is the most talented team we've ever had. I mean, I've never covered an Auburn team with 3 5-stars. I mean, the middle 80s, mid 80s teams that had Barkley and Chris Morris and Chuck Person. I mean, those were insane, but that was really before the recruiting era took over, right? I mean, you can't really judge Charles Barkley. I mean, obviously he's a Hall of Famer, but coming out of Leeds, was he a 4-star or 3-star or whatever? I don't know. A little banged up, nicked up. He's all right. I'm moving back to the football page, guys. Just did want to go through some basketball stuff there because it interests me and it interests you guys as well. Stoked to have you guys back on the air with me. It's a nice little play. I'm pretty fired up about that play. I mean, it's not that often you probably get Tank in a negative play, huh? See, HBZ said earlier, I'm sorry I missed it when I was babbling about the team. Zepp will start at the 2. We need his quickness defensively. He is a very positive defender. Yeah. And that's something we saw last year, right, with Sharif. Sharif was so quick on the attack, but on defense, he was a consistent liability, which is weird because he's so quick. But being a good defender takes more than just quickness. It takes a real want to. You have to want to be good at it. And I just don't think he was there. And it was a weird year. It was a weird year for him and for everybody in college basketball, but I think for him in particular where he missed the first 10 or 12 games and he wasn't ever sure. Demetrius Davis in the game. My man. All right, here we go. Let's see what he can do. I'm actually fired up about this. Me and Mike G from the War Report are big Demetrius Davis fans. I think a whole lot of this kid. Not much going on there, of course. Oh, and Papo. Knocking skulls. Number 22, Trey Smith. The carry. I'm just kidding. It's not really him. So this is Demetrius Davis out of Houston, Texas. Let's see if he gets to connect with Landon King. Is he out there right now? Saw Landon caught one earlier in the game. There he is. That's him doing what he does right there. It doesn't really translate well to an 8A game, but he's a guy who can tuck it and absolutely light it up. And I think his arm's underrated. I think people say, oh, he's a runner. No, he can throw the football. I think this kid was an incredible get. And the reason that he's just the kind of kid, personality-wise, he's just someone a lot like Brandon Jacobs years ago. It would have made a lot more sense for Brandon Jacobs to go somewhere else and not come to Auburn when Carnell and Ronnie were here. But he was just like, I told them I was going, and I'm going to go. I'm a man of my word. That's the way. That's the kind of person that Brandon Jacobs is. That's the kind of person Demetrius was, or is. He committed to Auburn when the former offensive coordinator, Chad Morris. And it would have made sense for him to leave. But he was like, I said it was coming. 22 is Devin Barrett. Yes, of course. I didn't think it was really Trey. Trey's like my age now. Well, not exactly my age, but you know what I mean. But it's good to see Devin out there. He had kind of a slow start to spring camp. He was just a little rusty. He took last year off or opted out last year. I like that formation right there. That's a formation that Gus would be allergic to right there. Man, I want Demetrius Davis to be good so bad. Think about that sentence. I want him to be good so bad. Jay, have you been writing for 25 years? Yeah, I have. Sorry. Let's see. Grind says, how has the RB room looked outside of Tank? Yeah, not very good, right? I mean, Tank's obviously a stud. And opinions, there's his first throw. A little overthrown. Coverage was pretty good. There's not a lot of depth there. And I think that they've absolutely got to go out and get somebody off the transfer portal between now and the start of the season. I think they got to have another reliable. I just don't think Devin Barrett's the answer. I think you got to have three guys you feel really, really good about. Now, Jaquez Hunter, the kid who signed out of Philadelphia, Mississippi, I like him, but is he going to be ready? Probably not. So you got Tank, you got Shivers, kind of iffy on Shivers. I mean, you know what I mean. He's reliable, but he's little too. I think they need another one. I always thought it was going to be the Vandy tailback that was going to come over, but it hadn't happened yet. Adam S. says, can't wait to see teams struggle against Kessler and Jabari. This has the potential to be just an absolutely disgusting team. And I think defensively you're looking at some stuff. Now, Walker's not a great defender. He's kind of like a Kyle Davis back, what is that, almost 20 years ago now, where he's a good shot blocker, but he's not necessarily a good defender. And they can get some improvement out of him because he does have some agility, and I think he has a lot of want to. So, Grind, to answer your question, I mean, how has it looked? It's just not good enough, I don't think. Diego G says, what up, beast? Missed the show. Appreciate you, bro. Hey, I missed seeing you on here, too. Hope you're doing well, bro. Out there kicking ass and doing what you do. Captain obviously smarter than you says Bo would look great in the black and gold. He's trying to engineer a trade. Trying to get rid of Bo and add Vandy's tailback. I like that. I don't think that would be a good deal for Auburn. Now, that was kind of an encouraging throw from Bo in the sense that he took something off that throw. You think to yourself, of course he did. It was only a 6-yard throw, Jay. But no, Bo in the past has just been slinging too much. Zeke Walker's getting a ton of run right now at that 3 technique spot. I love him. I can't really – does he look bigger to you guys? He still looks a little thin to me. Landon King really looked thin to me earlier when they showed him. There's a little misdirection run. Going low against Tank's generally not a good idea, but it kind of worked there, didn't it? I'm surprised Tank's still in the game. I mean, just – it may just be they don't want to – there's not many other people. See, Captain, obviously smarter than you seems. He was actually referring to the black and gold as in UCF. We'd love to have Bo. He's a really good player. I was thinking you could just trade for Vandy, but whatever. My bad. Appreciate the clarification there. Wonder how you guys feel about UCF. I was going to play fake to a Tank Bigsby with his back to him. See, Diego G says, got a bottle of Jefferson's Reserve. Jefferson's Reserve. So is that like regular Jefferson's? Never had it before. Thoughts, JG? Solidish. To me, it's a little soft. And I will admit, to those of you who watch the show every week, well, you know what I mean, who watch them, most of them, this is going to sound old news to you. But for me, like as I drink more and more bourbon, I like bourbons that have more kick on them. Like when I first started, I liked a really soft bourbon, which would be like Jefferson's is a very soft bourbon. And when I say soft, it just completely lacks any kind of harshness. I think it's good for starting out, but after a while, they get to be the same. The worst for me was I worked really hard to get a bottle of Hancock's Reserve, which is tough to get. It's a Buffalo Trace product. It's 80 proof. It just tastes like water to me. Like it's not bad. It's just too soft. It's just there's no bite. So I like bourbons that have bite, and that typically means it's going to be something that's a higher proof. It's rare for me now to really enjoy a bourbon that's under 95 proof now. It just doesn't have enough bite. Let's see, Bo. Another terrible throw. He sidearmed that for no real reason. It's just there's such an inconsistency with his mechanics. But I'm not an expert in this. I'm just saying I'm a guy who's looking at his throws. Sometimes he's back foot. Sometimes he's throwing here. Sometimes he's throwing here. And there's sometimes, you look at like Tom Brady, he'll change his arm angles, but he's doing it for creativity's sake. I mean, if he's got a lineman about to paw him over the top, then he slings it sideways. You don't just sling it sideways for shits and giggles. But Bo does. Yeah, that was Shivers had nowhere to go there. It was good lateral pursuit from the defense there. Let's see. Canoe Man says Jefferson's is okay-ish on a good day. Dude at the liquor store went on and on about how amazing it was, so I tried it. To me, it's just a little soft. Speaking of ones that have a really good balance to them, I got a couple things. First of all, you don't have to break the bank to have Chaz in the house. What up, bro? I'm glad to have you on the show. What's going on, man? You don't have to spend a lot of money to get the kind of bourbon I like that's kind of a little more harsh. Not a harsh, but just strong all the way through. I've been drinking the hell out of this Blue Note, which breaks a few rules for me. First of all, it's from Tennessee, which I don't like. And second of all, it's from Tennessee, which I don't like. So that's the second reason I don't like it. But it's really – there's a nice throw from Bo. Well, it looked nice. It was a nice – the ball had a nice trajectory. It wasn't anywhere near the receiver, but – and then Bo shakes his head. What are you mad about? Blue Note 9-year. It usually would be about $50 in the ABC store. Delicious. It's really, really good. It's really well balanced. Today for my featured bourbon, this is a this is a good one here. This is the Four Roses single barrel strength private selection. Excuse me. So this one has a little bit higher proof on it. This one is 120 or 121 proof, I guess. And this one's a little tougher to get. I had to get this one from a source. But we cracked this open last night for the first time. It was muy delicioso. AU Taxman, it always makes me feel better when I give you guys a bourbon suggestion and AU Taxman agrees with me because I think that guy knows what he's talking about. And he says that Blue Note 9 years good. You may also, I was in Frisky Whiskey yesterday, 2 days ago in LaGrange, Georgia. And they had something called the Blue Note juke joint, which I didn't get because there were 9 people in line. I didn't want to spend my whole damn day waiting. But I'm be interested to try that. That's a little less expensive. I think that's more like a $25 bourbon. And I think it's 3 years or 4 years aged. So it's a little younger, but I was still willing to try it because of Blue Note. And if I get my hands on it, have you guys had that? If you had, I want to know what you think about it. This Four Roses this really hits a sweet spot for me because Four Roses is in and of itself a sweet bourbon. But when you bump it up to 121 proof, the barrel strength, it gives it the right kind of kick. Let's see. Taxman says juke joint is the small batch. All right, sweet. Let's see. Diego likes this Four Roses single barrel. Sterling in the house, dude. I gave you some shouting out earlier. I don't know if you saw that. I don't know if you were on the show at that time. Love Old Forester Orange Label. You talking about like the real basic one, the 86? Is that the 86 proof? AU Taxman says he hasn't tried it. I wish I had. I wish that line hadn't been 9 people long. There he is. Terry Bowden. He always goes, Tuberville. Show him the thumb, Tommy. Senator Tuberville, I should say. Gene Chizik. No comment. You guys know how I feel about him. Gus. Good dude. Just not quite good enough for Auburn. He's definitely a good enough dude for Auburn. He's not a good enough coach. Brian Harsin's the first Auburn head coach without SEC experience since Terry Bowden. Wonderful. It's been very interesting to see how this staff has gone. I still haven't got the numbers yet. I told you guys a long time ago, 3 or 4 months ago, that this off-the-field staff was going to be at least double the Demetrius Davis going deep. It's a fucking throw right there, is it not? Oh, he dropped it. Or is that rule a catch or drop? Man, that was an absolute laser, man. I told you this kid can play. What a throw, man. That's an A-plus throw right there. What a throw. I love this kid, man. I'm thinking about going out and getting a Demetrius Davis jersey. Better move your feet a little bit more there, bud. Chip says dime AF. Absolutely. I must agree with you on that one. That was a nice throw. J. Rob says start Davis. Here we go. Mike G's got, you're giving Mike G some ideas now. AU Taxman says Lamp. We'll start with a Lamp. Did a rye barrel selection at Manifest Distilling in Jacksonville last weekend. Very cool experience. Ooh, look at you. Selecting barrels out there now. See, I knew you were talking about. See, Diego G says Davis reminds me physically of Kyler Murray. I think that's fair. Yeah. Kind of shorter, very quick, great lateral agility. And it's obvious Demetrius has an arm. I don't know if he has a Kyler Murray arm, but that was a hell of a throw right there. Hell of a throw. That 18 is too small, though. The numbers need to be bigger or something. Why are they so narrow? We need to talk to Dana about this BS. There you go, Wesley. Knock his ass out. Knock these motherfuckers out. Man, A-Day, guys. It's kind of a weird feeling. I can't believe spring practice has come and gone. Oh, I know what I was talking about earlier. I said back right after Harsin got hired that the field staff was going to be way bigger than it was with Gus. I don't have the numbers in front of me yet because they're not quite finished hiring, but there are so many more people involved with off-the-field coaching at Auburn. Well, not coaching, but off-the-field support staff is crazy. I'm estimating now, that was a bad throw. That should have been picked. Excluding analysts, because everybody has analysts now. I think Auburn's got 7-ish of those. There's probably another 25 people I would estimate that are on, that are full-time people inside the football complex doing stuff strictly for football. Now, I mean, just you got like you got the chief of staff, like Brad, and then you've got Usher, and you've got Truschel, and all those guys. There's so many, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's a good thing. It's a more serious enterprise, in my opinion, than it was before. Not that they sucked before. I mean, I'm not trying to say, people that work for Malzahn were dipshits. I don't mean that at all. I'm just saying there's a lot more people. And I said this on a radio show yesterday. I don't know if you probably don't care about NASCAR. Some of you guys do. There was a guy that used to race in NASCAR named JP Montoya, Juan Pablo Montoya. He was not a great driver. He was an okay driver. But I used to listen to Scanners. I used to be infatuated with Scanners. And I would listen to JP's Scanners sometimes, and his staff, like Spotter and the people in his pit were just unabashedly positive all the time. Like it was like a policy. It was obvious it was like a policy. It's a nice run from Devin Barrett there. That everything was positive. So JP, he would never be on the radio bitching. He would just kind of be offering. He'd say if he had a problem, he would kind of offer a solution, or he would say, he would never. It was never a negative thing. It was never a who messed this up. It was just like, here's what we're dealing with, and here's some ideas about how I think we can fix it. What about it, guys? And then the pit would always be real positive, and the spotter would be real positive, like, JP, you're doing a great job, man. And then JP would be like, you're doing a great job up in the stands or whatever, up in the spotting. Always positive, right? I feel like they're doing that here. It's not soft. You might think to yourself, everybody's being nice. It's soft. It's not a softness. It's just a positive thing. Like when they screw up, they do crawl ass. Not the way that Rodney did, kind of in this different way, but instead of just saying you're an idiot and you suck and you should go home and your girlfriend should dump you and kick you in the nuts, like it's more like, okay, that's a big mistake. I need you to get that fixed. Here's what you're going to do. Do you got that, big man? Okay, let's try it again. It's like that. And I'll be interested to see how that, I think the players enjoy it for the most part. You got dudes like Tank that just don't care. Like Tank's a cyborg, okay? Tank was put on this earth to kick ass as a running back, and it doesn't matter how you talk to him. You just wind him up and let him go, okay? But a lot of other dudes aren't like that, and you kind of have to work with them. And these guys keep it really positive. I think it's going to affect the kids. I think they're going to buy in more, and I think it's going to be a tighter group. Because when they have to kind of correct each other, they're not going to be as likely to be assholes to each other. Because, you kind of follow the people that lead, right? And when the leaders are being positive, it kind of filters down, and it becomes kind of a culture of positivity. Again, don't mistake positivity for being soft. It's just empowering each other all the time. And I think it's a great idea. And I think it's a good way to build a team. They don't put up with bullshit, but they don't also crucify you on a personal level the way that, say, Rodney did. And I don't mean to be ragging on Rodney because I like him. And I feel like if I was a football coach, I would definitely call people names. I know me, but it's probably not the best way to do it. And there's a reason that Kevin Steele, who coached for a really long time, did less and less of that as he got older. It wasn't because he was getting soft. It was because he was adjusting his approach. He recognized that kids are changing, and he needed to change kind of with that. All right, anyway, I'm done with that rant. Mobile Alum says, if we get a game day group together at Voodoo, you coming, right? It will be tough for me to do an actual game day. Like, if you're talking about, September, I'm going to do the Alabama State game from Voodoo Mobile would be tough. I don't understand exactly how I would do that, but I'm open to trying it. I have to make sure that that I have a really good internet connection, which is probably not a area of emphasis for the folks at Voodoo. We got to have really good upload or download. I mean, it's just not something that they would be worried about. But I love you guys. I had a particularly good time in Mobile, and there were a lot of cool Mobile people who weren't able to make it that night. Yeah. Hey, Taxman says Gus just refused to evolve with the times, and that led to his downfall. It's so odd to see him down at UCF now, and he's got, I'm going to let you guys put your hashtags or your Twitter feed, your Twitter handles on your jersey and shit. Like, where was this when you were at Auburn? He's got practices open. Now I realize the main reason for him having practices open is because that's the only way he can get recruits into his practices. I get it. That's fine. But, come on down to the bounce house and come watch practice. And it's like, where was this? He was paranoid when he was here, and it seems like he's less paranoid now. I don't know if it's just I don't know. It's possible that UCF just said, look, man, you just can't do it here. You can't, paranoia just doesn't work here. You got to be open, and we got to ball up. Spicy Pieces, did Auburn win? Auburn's kicking the shit out of Auburn right now. Knock him out. Boy, this is a quick A-Day game, huh? 2:53. We got less than 2 hours. Good stuff. Grant Loy giving it the wax on, wax off. We know what that means. Canoe Man says Voodoo is worried about making badass wings and saucy nugs. See, Cleveland says that's a funny take on Gus, considering your players had their Twitter handles on their jerseys. I know. Let's see. Spicy P says, down in La Jolla, JG, wish you were here, brother. La Jolla. You're talking about the actual one, a little bit north of San Diego, huh? Been there many a time. My parents used to take me and my sister there on Sundays, and in certain parts of La Jolla, you can sit up on on the cliffs. They have like little, I don't know what you'd call them, like little picnic cabanas, I guess. We would lock one of those down and eat sandwiches and walk along and play on the grass and shit. Good memories, man. Mobile Alum says, are you working on your Harsin imitation yet? I haven't even. I'm ashamed to say this, but I'm going to be real with you guys. I have not met him yet, like face to face. I haven't sat down and talked to Brian Harsin yet, which really bothers me. I mean, it's my 23rd year covering Auburn, and it's weird not knowing him yet. But hopefully that's going to change during the summer because I'm almost fully vaccinated. I've got the Pfizer. I got Pfizer 3.5 weeks ago. I haven't got my second shot yet because I had some stuff going on last week that I had to skip my appointment, but I do have it tomorrow. But we're all going to be vaccinated pretty soon, and I'm hopeful that good things are going to happen. I would really like to hang out, particularly him, just to sit down and talk to Zacchaeus again. Cornelius Korn, Bedell, some guys I really want to, Schmedding, Brad Larondo. I want to hang out with those guys. I text with them and talk to them and stuff, but I haven't been able to meet them yet. There's Perry Hooper Jr. I'm just kidding. It's not really. Pocket Watch says no second dose. Not yet. It's tomorrow. I'm scheduled to go tomorrow. I got my first dose about a month ago. That's a wrap, guys. Auburn beat Auburn 17-3. That's a wrap. Much a good A-Day right there. That's pretty good. I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to turn this off. Looks like we're going to an Advil commercial, which I'm good. All right, A-Day in the books. Mobile Lump says, are we going full capacity this fall? That's going to be the push. I think they're going to get there. I do think Auburn will be one of the last ones to commit to it, though, just because AG is not one to really want to push for that. Anyway, Pocket Watch, I had to miss it. I had some stuff going on this week that was unexpected, and so I had to miss my appointment. But I set up another one. Actually, my wife did, and I'm going tomorrow to get my second dose of the Pfizer. But if you guys have read the Pfizer stuff, I think people who have one good full dose of Pfizer are in pretty good shape. I mean, in England, if you get one dose of Pfizer, they make you wait 12 weeks for your second dose because they want to get as many people first dosed as possible. Diego Godoy says Auburn is now 1-0. Great news. Undefeated, baby. Spicy Pieces, love to see a huddle and no clap. Snap. Chip says Harsin about to be interviewed after commercials. JGT, I can't listen to that. I just can't. I just can't do that. I gotta focus on you guys. I'm here for you guys. Cleveland says all he got was his. He got a second shot of COVID, Pfizer shot yesterday. No adverse effects this time so far. Just a sore arm. I had a trainer tell me, I know a trainer's not a certified medical professional, but I had a trainer tell me that so I use my left arm for the shot. If you exercise your arm a lot, you use it, which I went to the gym that night, and you lift weights or whatever, that's going to make it so it doesn't hurt as much as long. And I'm going to say, for me, when I got my first shot of Pfizer, it didn't hurt very long. I mean, by the next day, it was about over. I mean, and it didn't really hurt that much that night, honestly. I don't sleep on my left shoulder anyway, but. Chip says Pfizer's the preference. Chip would know, too. I don't want to out you, but Chip has some direct familiarity with the vaccination effort in America, and specifically in Mobile. He knows a few things. So I'll let you know the 0.00001% chance he breaks any news. Well, there's no doubt. I tell you what, I don't know if you guys have been following it, but MWD, he talked about it on the show a few times during basketball season, but he had a particularly rough go of it with the COVID. He got COVID, and it messed him up for a really long time. I mean, I would estimate it took him 8 to 10 weeks to get over it. He was having a really hard time moving around and stuff. Well, anyway, he just finished, and he got his second shot maybe a week or two ago. So that is really, really, really good news. I had to go. You guys, I told you guys I had bounced out of the rundown. So we skipped the rundown on Tuesday. We ended up doing it on Friday instead because I wasn't available. I made a couple references to me having to miss my dosage. I went on a trip the middle of the week to another part of the country, and I don't really want to go into details about why, but it's just my business. I'm not going to tell you guys. But it wasn't just for pleasure or whatever. It wasn't a vacation trip, but it was a different part of the country, and these people did not give a shit about masks. I mean, it was like, hey, man, you guys know there's problems here? Anyone want to wear a mask? And it's just weird. You go into different parts of the country, and I just don't care, which I'm not even criticizing, dude. I feel like I'm pretty well protected anyway, but. One Neverwear says, Jay, your hair is higher than Elon Musk. Thank you, I think. I had a girl at the bar last night tell me, you look like Vanilla Ice. And I said, all right, stop. Collaborate and listen. And she was like, ah! I was like, come on, everybody knows that song. But her husband like really didn't want to be at the bar. He's literally sitting at the bar like this. Like for hours. Like she was there, I think, with some of her coworkers and they were celebrating or whatever. And then she made her husband come, you know? And he's just sitting there miserable. And I'm like, dude, look, man. Like, sometimes we all got to do shit we don't want to do. So you can't just sit there and be miserable about it. You got to fight through it. Like, find something to do. Find somebody to talk to. Find something to drink. I don't know. Shit. I mean, that Vanilla Ice stuff, although misguided because I don't look like Vanilla Ice, but nonetheless. Yeah, it's funny. I even sang a line of the song, and this guy's just nonplussed. Fucker. Oh, boy. So don't be a dick. Just have fun. Ed D, my main man. Let's see. I'm trying to think of what soundbite I want to play for Ed D because I love Ed D. We'll give him one of these right here.
You could drop a tarantula into his shorts and he'll still be cool.
We love Ed D. What up, bro? I'm so glad to see you back, man. The Elect Endureth says War Eagle JG. Fire emoji. Good to see you on the War Rapport. Oh, man, I love those guys. You know how I feel about that. I feel like me and Mike G are like brothers. I haven't texted with him lately, but there was a while there we were texting each other quite a good bit, and I could just tell he and I would definitely be friends in real life, like all of them. Great interactions and great discussions with the guys. Hashtag get your weight up. Yes, I love it. Love it. Mobile Alum says, are we going to hear from Hunter? Hunter is working on a project, a personal project today, and he did not watch the A-Day game, so we are not going to hear from Hunter today. I think what's going to happen is he's going to watch the A-Day game either tonight or tomorrow, and then he's going to probably jump on the bunker and provide some thoughts, which will be just as valuable as always. He's had some great posts lately. He's an absolute beast. You guys know that. Ed D says you should have rapped some Eazy-E. Yeah, when the girl said it looked like Vanilla Ice. Nobody would mistake me for Eazy-E, that's for sure, but I don't think they would mistake me for Vanilla Ice either. Kilgore Knight in the house. What up, bro? Says, what up, JJ? What we sipping on? I am sipping on this Four Roses single barrel strength. This is the OESK recipe. It's a little more high rye, but it's nonetheless, it's a bourbon. Slightly higher rye content, so it's a little spicy. I'm a big Four Roses fan in general. Just the yellow label stuff, I drink that. And then, of course, anything higher up than that, like single barrel, I like it a lot. So, yeah, this is 130 proof. No, it's 121 proof, excuse me. And to me, it has a really nice balance between sweet and hot. Spicy P. Excuse me. Mobile Alum says Brian. Yes, we are going to have Brian on the horn at some point. He is going to be doing interviews basically starting now and running for probably another 30 minutes or so, he and Christian. So I don't want to get in with them just right this minute. Although I will check with Jay Lee. Let's see what Jay Lee's up to. You guys are sitting here thinking, JG, you didn't get this all worked out before? No, I didn't really. Pardon me. It's crazy. You know what's really weird is about being on this side of the show, like where I'm running it and stuff. You know, we haven't run a show since like March 3rd, so that's like 6 weeks. I feel really out of practice. It's weird. I mean, we've run maybe 70 shows together. I mean, I should totally know what I'm doing, and I feel out of it already. I mean, I just feel like I'm behind the curve or whatever. So we will get Brian, and I just texted Jay Lee. We'll see what he's up to as well. Let's see. Spicy Penguin says, what percentage chance do we think Thor is going to come back? Blake J jumps in and says 99%, but yeah, I don't agree with that, Blake. If you're looking at it strictly from a player development perspective, I don't think he's ready for the NBA. But I think he really wants to play basketball full time. And if he's got to put some time in somewhere else, whether it be G League or if that maybe is an overseas league or something like that, I think that he would try to do that. I do. If it comes out to where, hey, we think one more year in college could really push you into the first round next year and there's a lot of money on the line, which I think is possible, honestly, he might come back. But to me, his chances of coming back, this is just me talking, are like 30%. So I think there's a 70% chance he leaves. I mean, at this point, I'd be surprised if he came back. And I know some of you guys are like, what? That kid's not ready. Well, it's not really about how ready he is. I don't know. Stephen Ellis says, first of all, what up, Stephen? I saw you earlier saying, sorry you weren't here. Dude, I'm just glad you're here. You're an awesome part of the show. Says, I want to send you some Chattanooga whiskey. I just had somebody tell me about that last night. Said it was Russell Terry on the Montgomery radio show in the afternoon was saying that he had gotten some Chattanooga whiskey that was finished in a particular kind of barrel. I forgot which kind, and he thought it was delicious. I better hold up. I'm not going to drink a bunch more of this Four Roses right now. It's just tear my ass up. It's 120 proof. Canoe Man says, someone sent me a picture from a flight from a business meeting we had at Chattanooga Whiskey a couple years ago. Interesting. One Neverwhere says, should I have more hope for Auburn football or Dogecoin? Somebody needs to explain crypto to me sometime. I feel like you guys are out. Some of you financial types are out there making a bunch of money on these cryptocurrencies, which I don't even understand. Kyle S. says, I've heard Thor has cut communication with the coaches. I would not be surprised by that. It's not that he's mad at them. I think he really wants to not come back. Not because he's mad at Auburn. I just think he really wants to play basketball professionally. And as a coach I used to cover at Kentucky once said, not everybody likes to go to school. Let me rephrase that. A coach I used to cover at Kentucky says, not everybody likes to go to school. Some kids just don't want to go to school. Some kids want to play basketball all the time. And, draw your own conclusions there. Spicy Pieces, he's got a hot take. Harsin gets Auburn their first win in Death Valley this century. Wow. Could it be? Could it happen?
Come after me. I'm a man. I'm 40.
Shoot. It's a young reporter covering in person Auburn beating LSU in 99 in Death Valley. Smoking cigars on the field afterward. Cole Kublik among them. Travis Williams among them. I never thought that would be the last time I saw Auburn win a football game in LSU for like 20 or 30 years. Spicy P quoting Reverend Cardale Jones says, I ain't come here to play school. That's exactly right. Oh, man. One Neverwhere says voodoo, not the wing company, but just general voodoo, like Creole voodoo, is too strong in Death Valley, bro. Absolutely. MWD, I was just talking about you, bro. I know you're doing well because I follow you on Facebook, but I was just telling some folks that you were definitely doing better, and you gotten you're fully vaccinated now. Well, I don't know. You got your second shot. I don't know if you're all the way through that second shot, working through your body yet, but that was great. I know it's kind of a very bumpy ride for you. I'm really glad to see you doing better. I think a lot of us are too. Ed D says, we got the brain drain of the War Report on YouTube. We got Auburn cover. Oh, is War Report going right now? I was kind of hoping that we would never go head to head like that because I never want to split it up, but I'm sorry if I did that. I had initially talked with Ike about coming on the show, I guess today. Or no, it was going to be tomorrow. It's going to be tomorrow. But I'm pushing it out a little bit. I got some stuff going on tomorrow. I'm getting my shot tomorrow, and et cetera, et cetera. The Elect Endura says no sunshine pump, but I feel Harsin and company completely surprises everyone in his first year. Again, no sunshine pump. Yeah, we don't like sunshine pumping here either, but yeah, I just think I've said it on the radio a little bit. I've said it on the bunker a little bit, but we haven't done a show in a while. I think this team's going to end up being like the early 90s Giants teams where they have a really good defense, particularly against the run. I think they're going to be good. And then they're going to run the football because Tank's such a badass. And this offensive front, not very good pass pro, but pretty good run blocking. I mean, they're at least solid. So I think if you're going to play to this team's strength, you're going to run the football with number 4, and then you're just going to play defense. And that was a Super Bowl winning combination for the Giants in the early 90s, and I think it can be good. Let's see. Pocket Watch and D say War Report is going live in about 5. Yeah, we're just going to have to go head to head. I don't ever want to do that, but I mean, I'm here and we're doing our thing. So Anonymous X says, Bo didn't look any better today. I have to agree. I thought he was just kind of regular Bo today. My thought was that they would have worked with his footwork a little bit and tried to like get him away from this unnecessary rolling away from fake pressure and throwing off your back foot like Reggie White's about to decapitate you. And yeah, he was doing the same stuff. So Rob T says, I saw nothing that impressed me, but you have to understand they really don't want to show much. It's absolutely true. Don't ever take A-Day games with anything more than a pinch of salt. I mean, they're just kind of playing around. They don't want to show much. They don't want to get anybody hurt. This would be a terrible time for anybody to get hurt. Because if it was a serious injury, they would not be able to come back before camp, and then they'd be behind for the whole year, and it's just a mess. Which is kind of why I was surprised that Tank was in the game as much as he was, but they're just giving him some work. You don't want to make him think he's above it. Not that he would, but Canoe Man says, love War Rapport. However, the Drain is my jam. Thank you, buddy. I love both of them. I love both shows. But I run this one, so I guess I have to like this one better. But I really like what they're doing. They do good shit over there. Ed D says 20 passes for barely 100 yards. I mean, heck, that one throw from Demetrius was probably a quarter of that, right? If not more. Spicy P says, Shivers look good. Love the downhill game we focused on. Definitely doing some downhill, very basic run plays, but you got to get that foundational stuff working if you're going to be a good football team in the fall for sure. Jackson G says, y'all stop being lame. Please wildly overreact to this. It's a tradition. I thought Bo looked like absolute trash, and he's got to go. Start Demetrius Davis. Yeah, I'm going to start giving you some Stephen A. Hot takes. This defense is trash. Bring back Kevin Steele. I'm just teasing around. Let's see. Anonymous Mouse says, I thought Devin Barrett, number 22, looked good running something other than a screen pass, no doubt. I like him on the screen. Yeah, if you guys remember, he's talking about 3 years ago, and anytime Devin was in the game, he knew it was a screen. War Eagle 0008 says, War Dam to all. Glad to see the return of the Drain. Glad to see the return of War Eagle 0008. Haven't heard from Jay Lee yet. Sometimes he's in areas that don't have great cell coverage, so we'll have to see. Edward R. says it's a shame they didn't have the game on TV is probably what you said. Yeah, it sucks, but, they've only got programming for – they can only show so many teams, and Auburn was not very good last year, so, I get it. Alabama's in the playoffs all the time. I'm going to show Alabama. I mean, if you're a television executive, that's an easy call. As soon as Harsin goes out there and does what we think he's going to do, then that will change. I said this on the bunker, but one thing you can count on is that when Saban first got here, I think in 07, I think is when he started at Alabama. Tuberville, I thought, started cowering to him very early. I didn't feel like Gene cowered to him at all, but he had other issues. And then I felt like over time, Gus and his staff kind of let Saban get in their heads. I don't think that Harsin's going to do that. I think Harsin is going to be more like Chizik in that regard, where Chizik just didn't give a shit what Saban was doing. It just he was befallen by other problems that I don't think Harsin's going to have. So I like the way that things have started out for Harsin from an administrative perspective, and I think the kids, by and large, are warming to the way they're doing things. Cleveland asks if Jay Lee's available to talk with. I actually did text him, and he hasn't answered yet, so he may be in an area with weak cell service. Let's see. Canoe Man says, better than BMAT, that is always in an area without decent mobile service. Talking about BMAT at his house. Yeah, it comes and goes. That's not his fault, though. He lives BMAT lives in a neighborhood where, all the people live in Auburn. He's not out in the middle of nowhere. Randy W. says, Tank and Shivers look real good. Absolutely. AU Taxman says, how did Eli Stove look today? I think he's prying for a breakout junior year. It did seem like Eli was here a while, didn't it? I'm going to favorite. I wish I knew what favoriting comments did. That's something new that's on this platform, but I don't know. It doesn't really show you guys that I do it or whatever, so I don't know what the point is. Who knows? What about the schedule, huh? I put the schedule up for next season here, kicking off with the Akron Kangaroos or whatever they are. They're the Zips, actually, on September 4. September 11 against the Hornets. I imagine that means that Jay Lee is going to be reunited with some of his favorite fans, the Honeybees, who are the sideline dancers for ASU. They have a lot of respect for each other. I myself am also a Honeybees fan. Of course, they're from Mobile. I'm from Montgomery, where I am, so I feel like that's my hometown team. Speaking of that, I had to buy a new car recently because my other car got hit by a deer. And you say, JG, wait a minute. You were driving. You hit the deer. No, the deer hit me. I slowed the car down to let them pass, and the sumbitch ran right into me. Unfortunately, it was a fatal hit for the deer, and it messed my car up so bad. It took them 5 weeks, but they did decide it was going to be a total situation, so my car got totaled. I was really bummed about it. I've talked about this on G-Pits. I'm sorry if that sounds like going through the same thing. Well, anyway, I ended up buying a Hyundai Sonata because the Camry Hybrid that I wanted to get was just too expensive for me at the time. I mean, it's not like they give you $50 million when your car gets totaled. They give you, whatever they give you. And so anyway, I got the Sonata. And the reason I brought it up was they make them in Montgomery. So I feel like it's a hometown car for me. Pretty fired up about that. I don't know if any of you guys are Sonata drivers out there, but I'm pretty fired up. The car is really, really kick-ass. I really enjoy it. Had a good experience so far. Let's see. Anonymous X says, Eli started when we were still API. Alpha Tiger in the house. He says, sup, swoogans.
We're not even talking about the game, the actual game, when it matters. We're talking about practice.
Alpha Tiger in the house. What up, bro? I'm sorry that Jay Lee was... Well, actually, I might have shit on you a little bit on the show the other day. I didn't mean to. I was just saying, he was like, Alpha Tiger's such a funny poster. I was like, well, he is a funny poster. He's kind of banal on the air. I don't know. Maybe that's not fair. If it isn't, I'm sorry. I still love you, Alpha. Great poster. War Eagle 0008 says he wishes Demetrius Davis would have been live. Can't really see what he does with a non-contact jersey. Yeah, exactly. You saw him a few times where he zipped out of the pocket really quick, but I mean the linebackers aren't really flowing to him because they know he can't run, and with the non-contact jersey on, so it's really hard to tell. And that's an important part of his game, similar to the way that Nick and Cam was a different kind of runner, but Nick Marshall and just an important part of the value of Nick Marshall was his ability to run the football. So anyway, let's see if we got a stat sheet. I don't really know if the stat sheet would be a meaningful thing at this point. Do we have a stat sheet? Pull that up for you guys. We'll pour over some stats. Also, I got some really cool stats to show you about these basketball guys too. We'll show those here in a sec. We got a super chat coming through from the man. Let me get to that in just a second. Very interesting statistical profile here. It's Auburn against Auburn. All right, here are the stats from A-Day. Let me just put this right here in the middle. Oh, we don't need to see Jay right now. So your rushing star was Tank Bigsby. 7 carries, 64 yards for 9.1 per carry. That's pretty good. It's pretty strong right there. Let's see. Kobe Hudson goes 0 of 1 passing. They ran a trick play, reverse pass. He's trying to throw it back to Bo, but Pegues was on his ass pretty well there. Hard to kind of tell the passing line because they were split between two teams. It gets like Bo was 12 of 21, which is about Bo, Demetrius ends up going 2 of 3 for 48. Had a really nice long throw to Malcolm Johnson. Tank's the only thing that jumps out to me there. And the fact that Bo just kind of had a Bo day. And Grant Lloyd didn't play very well, did he? About that. Oscar Chapman averaging 42 a kick. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. We'll take him to Outback afterward. Hey, now I got him. Throw another shrivel in a bobby. So there's your stats. I don't really know why. I mean, it's might as well. I mean, they're here, but not a lot of big things we can do with that. Stu Pup jumps in with his super chat. Unbelievable. Keeping the streak alive. It's unbelievable if he does this. Jay, you must be down bad if you got to buy a Hyundai. Here's some money to help. Oh, man, that's tough. First of all, thank you, Stu Pup. You're the man. Second of all, like, my daughter drives a Hyundai. She's had great experiences. She's actually on her second Hyundai, and they've been really good for her. And again, like I mentioned, they make them here in Montgomery, so I kind of feel like it's a hometown car. But thank you nonetheless. You're the man, Stu Pup. You have the longest streak in Brain Train history, which I believe is like 1 million in a row. Alpha Tiger, of course, I mentioned earlier I was making fun of him. I didn't mean to. I just kind of did inadvertently. Says, was at a rundown. I haven't listened to the last episode yet, but didn't think I got a shout out or a shout down. You didn't. I think he was giving you a shout out, and I don't know. My bad. Randy W says, which is the real at all? Which tells, I guess you mean which tells the real story at Auburn? The first offense against the second defense? Or the first offense versus this first defense? It's a good question. That's a good question. Again, I don't know. It just gets mixed up too quickly when you're playing in an 8-day game, and you get some third-teamers in there. There were some third-teamers on that defense on the second drive, I think. This is in the first quarter, so it's like you don't really know what you're doing. I think it's by design. But I think Tank was the star today for sure. And then on defense, I mean, I guess Papo kind of stuck out to me. He had some good licks. Crocodile in the house. No, I'm sorry. Let me put it back. My bad, Crocodile. WDE, lovely day on the plains. Driving back from the game and listening. What's up, Crocodile? Glad to have you, brother. Let me give you some applause for that, bro. We love Crocodile, Crocky Poo, as you may know him. One of our absolute studs. Yeah. Randy says, did I? Sorry. It actually says it gives me one-click banning on people in the chat now, which is kind of cool. I used to have to go to YouTube to do that. So it's cool that I can do it here, but I inadvertently banned you, Randy. I didn't mean to. Hopefully I unbanned you. He said, sorry, real deal. Which tells the real deal at Auburn? I don't know. The defense is definitely better than the offense. We know that. Yeah. And again, I think this is going to be a team that leans on Tank and the defense. And you think, Jay, Bo's going to be a junior. Yeah. Based on what we saw last year, based on what we've seen in this 8-day game, you just kind of have to think the Bo is Bo. Like, the 59% and completion percentage and the general inaccuracy beyond about 15 yards. I mean, sometimes his throws are right on, and sometimes his throws are a mile over somebody's head, and maybe this is just kind of what he is. I mean, I know that's going to be a bummer. This was one of the most celebrated quarterback signees that Auburn's had since I've been here. It was like son of a former starter. He's a 4/5-star guy. He's going to come in here and, really give Auburn a big advantage at quarterback for a long time, and it just hadn't happened. And what we saw today doesn't really give a lot of thought that they're going to be doing. He's going to make this huge step forward. Of course, then again, when Cam Newton played in his 8-day game, his one 8-day game, I think he was 2 of 4. So he didn't look very good today. Freddie Joe Bammer watched that 8-day game in 2010 and said, Cam Newton sucks. And then, sorry. Oh, I know you're mad. I know you're mad. Anyway, Crocodile saying what up to Canoe. I love it when the superstars of the show keep things positive. Lift each other up. It's important. Do have some basketball stuff to talk about. Can we talk about basketball now? Would you guys be okay with that? Because really, 8-day is just kind of, a scrimmage, and they're messing around. And I mean, Devin Barrett is a guy we have to talk about. I mean, he's not going to be a real factor. All right, basketball. Last week, in the last couple weeks, Auburn has added 2 basketball players, and I want to kind of go through here. The first one is Wendell Green Jr., a young man from Detroit who played at Eastern Kentucky last year. And understanding where he fits in and how he fits in, he's a point guard. He has some shooting guard skills, but he's short. He's probably 5'10", 5'11", so you wouldn't necessarily want him on the wing at all. And as you can see, he had what I would think of as a typical good freshman season. He was a little off in the first half as he's acclimating to the college game, and then the second half of the season he really blew up and became one of the best, if not the best player in his league. And Eastern Kentucky was pretty good last year. I mean, they're not a team that's known for being good, but he was there and he was kicking ass, and they had some other dudes, and he's good. I mentioned this earlier in the show. He has a broad base of skills. He's good at a lot of things. He's quick-ish, not super fast, but he's quick-ish. He's a good ball handler. He's a good shooter. He can get to the hole. He's pretty good in transition. Not great, but he's okay. He does a lot of things fairly well. 45% three-point shooting after February 1st, which is a span of maybe 12 games for him. He really picked it up the second half of this season as a three-point shooter. And again, if he can shoot 40% for a season, hell, if he can shoot 38% for a season, he's a huge asset. 20-plus points in 10 of his last 19 games. He was just on fire in their tournament. And he put up some ridiculous numbers in his last 4 games. But again, 10 of his last 19, he hit at least 20 points. They were leaning on that kid. Great off the pick and roll DHR. So for him, he would be the pick and roll ball handler. So he would come off of a screen and then shoot or drive. Something Auburn doesn't necessarily run that a bunch. They used to with Jared, but Auburn more likely with BP, they run a pick and roll roller. So I always think of Anthony running this. Anthony runs the screen, ball comes around him, then he kind of banks out toward the perimeter. Pass comes over, and it's a pick and roll roller. They did some of that with, or it can be an alley-oop too, which was more likely with JT this last year. But again, he's kind of a pick and roll ball handler, rolls around the screen and shoots, or a DHO, which is a dribble handoff. Just kind of quick motions, high screen type stuff. He was really good at that. That's something that Eastern Kentucky did last year. It's generally not something that Auburn does. But my guess is they will incorporate some of that into the offense next year to accentuate that for him. They did some DHOs when they had Bryce and they had Jared. It's just these last couple of years, not as much. Just because I think Samir wasn't huge on that. And this past season, that definitely is not something that Sharif was doing much of. And Wendell Green was one of the best in his league at creating steals, too. He's an active defender. I don't think his positioning was super good, but his hands are quick. He plays with his head up. Deflects balls. That's very valuable. War Eagle 0008 in the Hizzle says, thanks for the show. Thoughts on Thor, what we're hearing. If he comes back, does he or Jabari play 3, Al at the 2? Yeah, so I think Thor's going to leave. There is a situation where he comes back, and they would love to have him back. But I think he really wants to try to push for a professional career to start this, next year. I don't think he loves college basketball. Not that he's mad at Auburn or at the coaches at all. I just think he would rather play basketball for a living. And, some kids want to do that. During the A-Day halftime, I had a grid up here of all the players. We'll do that here in just a second. And I'll show it again here. Just if you hold on for a second, War Eagle. Of course, cons, not effective in transition. Wendell was not good in transition last year, straight up. Actually, I have some numbers I can show you. I use a company called, what is this? I think it's this one, yeah. This is his shooting chart. Oh, god dang. Sorry, guys. That's the shooting chart for Wendell last year at EKU. And the numbers I want you to look at mostly are down here at the bottom. I can't really show you where, but it says play types. It's like this last little chunk. And it shows you the various kinds of ways that people score. And I mentioned earlier, pick and roll ball handlers where you have the ball, you come around a screen, and you either drive or you shoot. A very common play type. Not as common with Auburn, but a lot of teams use that. And you can see that's where they were using him for the most part. And he ends up with a very good rating, which means his points per possession with that type of play type, he graded out very good. That's a good number. Transition below average. So he's in transition a lot, didn't score a lot. And you can see his numbers are kind of iffy. He's good at pick and roll ball handler, and he's pretty good at DHO, although not nearly as many opportunities on the DHO. But I still think this is a really good basketball player. I think he's a guy that's going to be here a couple years, and he's going to get a lot better. He's a really good basketball player. He's just not quite where Walker Kessler is at his position. But he's a great guy to have, and I think he's going to be a huge asset for this program. Michael McClanahan says, are we going to talk about A-Day? Yes, we can talk about A-Day. Let's talk about A-Day. Let me put up the stats again. It was a good practice. Nobody appeared to get hurt. Here are the stats from A-Day. Kevin wants to know why they didn't have A-Day on TV. They only have so many channels, and we watched it here on WatchESPN.com or ESPN3 or the Ocho, as some know. Again, my thoughts on A-Day, it is what it is. It's basically a scrimmage. No special teams of note. Quarterback's not live, so it's difficult to gauge some of their value, specifically Demetrius Davis. I think Tank Bigsby was the star of the game. 7 carries for 64, 9 roughly per carry. I mean, he's a franchise player. I think everybody knows that. Bo Nix, to me, looked about like the Bo Nix we saw last year. There was some hope that he was going to be, significantly better, having spent this time with Bobo and with the play calling being a little bit more suited to his strengths. But to me, he looked about the same. So, the returns there weren't great. And then on defense, defensive line looked solid. Wesley Steiner stuck out to me a little bit. Papo stuck out to me a little bit. Punting was pretty good. Wide receiver were okay. Looks like Canyon finishes with 6 carries for 51. That's pretty good. Malcolm had a really nice catch on a throw, a fairly complicated throw from Demetrius. He had to kind of veer. I mean, it was a great throw, but he had to veer toward the sideline and look over his shoulder to catch the ball, and he did, I think. I think they ruled that a catch. And I was on the radio in Montgomery yesterday with Russell Terry, and I had some not so nice things to say about the wide receiver core because I just didn't think that they quite had the firepower that it should have. You look at these guys right here. I mean, Elijah Canyon's solid player. Malcolm Johnson, probably a solid player. Kobe, solid. Javaris, we didn't see much of him today. The slot receiver, they said he had a great spring, and I totally believe that that's true, but we'll see how that works out. And Xavion was out for the spring, so we didn't have a chance to see Xavion Gapers hardly at all. And I still think they need, I just don't see a number 1 receiver, really. I'm not even sure I see a number 2 receiver. I see a bunch of, number 3 receivers. I see a lot of Kevin Millwoods. You know what I mean? Canoe Man says, so DL is 6-4. I don't know. I'm sorry. Am I missing the joke? War Tiger 9780 says, Bo looked just as bad as last season. Yeah, I got to agree. Not that he was bad today, just the things that drove us crazy last year, right? Were like the running away from pressure that really wasn't there or wasn't very serious, and then just kind of like the throwing off the back foot for no real reason, like some of that going on. Okay, a lot of that going on, and it did seem like his accuracy throwing off his back foot was better than it was last year, because a lot of time those back foot throws were just like a shotgun, just wherever, Better today, but you just want to see him step into throws more, right? And it's like he's allergic to it. I don't know. Maybe that's something that he and Bobo will be working on during the summer, and maybe he comes into that Akron game and he's paying more attention to his footwork, where he's stepping into the throws rather than falling backward. I mean, dude, I know Brett Favre was probably the best there ever was at throwing off his back foot, and even he was trying to throw off his front foot. I don't know, man. He's got to work on that. Let's see. Michael said, how did JJ look in his new position on the DL? JJ Pegues, of course, who recently moved from H-back or tight end to 3-technique, 5-technique tackle. He did get some playing time today. He looked good. The one time I really noticed him was when he was pursuing Javarius Johnson on a reverse pass, and he kind of shucked aside a block and was pursuing him and was about to kill him, and it forced a premature throw. And the play went for no gain. I mean, the play went incomplete. So he made a nice play there. Chip's noting that as well. He didn't get a ton of snaps. War Eagle 0008, sharp-eyed, eagle-eyed War Eagle, says Lee Hunter made a really nice play against the first team. Kid has a bright future. Love Lee Hunter. Young man from Mobile. Mobile has a history, man, of Auburn having some really good players from down there. Roger McCreary, of course. Cornerback currently, and you think back to Leo Carson, number 92 back in the day, from Viger. Come on, man. DeMarco McNeil, AC. Trey Williams. Some really good players from down there. Auburn has a great tradition in Mobile, and Lee Hunter is the next step. I got big plans myself for Lee Hunter. I think he's going to be really good in time. I think he'll be a backup this year. And I think he's going to be like Dontavius, who I think is a very valuable, underrated player. Dontavius Russell, number 95, who graduated, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago? TMZ College says Bobo can't fix Bo. Well done. Early returns do not look good. I have to agree. Mike McNeil, another Mobilian. Yes, there's more. I mean, I wasn't trying to give you a complete exhaustive list there, but I mean, Senderick Marks, great player from Mobile. But yeah, this Bo Nix, I think, to the people who were disappointed with Bo last season, I don't think this did anything to soothe those concerns. You know, I think when you look, if you're an anti-Bo guy, not anti-Bo, but if you're down on Bo, okay, and you're looking for a solution, I think Demetrius is the only guy you can look at because, dude, let's be real. Grant Lloyd, when he was actually playing at Bowling Green, was not a good passer. He was a runner. His running was his best attribute. You watch him today, and he didn't look very good. I mean, throwing the football at all. And so the only other person you can really hitch your wagon to is Demetrius. And I mean, I just think that's going to be a big ask for him. He's smaller, and he's going to have to make some adjustments to his game. Damian Craig as well. Thank you, Chris. Another great Mobilian. Played at Auburn, coached at Auburn. I think Demetrius is going to have to make some adjustments to his game because he's so small. 5'10". I don't know what he's listed at, maybe 180 pounds, 170 pounds. He's never going to be a big dude. He's never going to want to absorb hits from SEC linebackers, and he knows that. He's been playing like this his whole life. It's like Leo Messi, Greatest soccer player alive right now is a small, thin guy, and he's spent his entire career with people trying to kill him, and he's just learned how to kind of avoid the tackles and move where he needs to go. Demetrius can do the same thing, and he will. It's just it's a matter of adaptation, so I don't know. Chip says, does Shea Garnett transfer this summer? I doubt it, but I don't know how he fits in here. I never understood how Shea fit in here, really. I mean, I just felt like he was one of those guys that, like, Gus was like, that kid's going to be good in 4 years, or something like that. And I don't know, man. I don't know how he fits in. But he may be a guy that just, decides to stick it out and see what happens. That maybe he can beat out Demetrius when Bo is out. Spread Attack U18 says Damian was taller than Davis. Heart was bigger than an iPhone 12 Pro Max. Yeah, Damian wasn't that short. And also Damian was playing in a different era, right? I mean, linebackers, and I know he played in the same era as Takeo Spikes, but Takeo's on a different plane. Linebackers back then were definitely slower and bigger. Like we're more into like having huge muscles rather than being great pursuers and tacklers. So I think Damian could take advantage of a lot of defenders in ways then that he couldn't do now. But I still think he'd be a good player. I'm just saying. It was a much different game in the 90s. John Carolina says if they can't get his confidence back and they have him be okay with pressure, they have to move on. You're talking about Bo Nix. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't necessarily think that they look at Bo right now as like this failed player, though. I mean, the way that I know a lot of you guys look at him that way, and I'm starting to look at him that way, but I don't think they do. I don't think they look at him and say, I don't know, man, it's got to be Demetrius. I just don't think that. I think he does enough good things where they're just like, okay, it's going to be a confidence thing. We need a little more time with him. We've got to show him the value of stepping into your throws versus falling backward. They think it's totally solvable. So, yeah. Let's see. I have a source telling me here on the text machine that Alpha Tiger, I don't know if Alpha is still here, probably is indeed a Pike. I did not know that. Of course, this unnamed source on my text machine is a fellow Pi Kappa Alpha member. I was the president of the Pi Kappa Alpha chapter at Transylvania University, Kappa chapter of Pi KA. Thanks for the tip there, anonymous source. And Alpha Tiger better show up and give me a Phi KA. I'm going to be pissed off. Shane Robinson says, I thought Bo went through progressions better, but wide receivers are underwhelming. I completely agree with you there. I don't see frontline players at wide out right now at Auburn. Didn't throw to tight ends. He did throw a few early. He hit Fromm. A few outside runs. JJ Pegues. I'm sorry. JJ Pegues looks like he belongs at defensive line. He certainly looks that way, and he always has. I think for him it's a matter of mentality. I know he's tough. We saw him damn near kill a guy, an Arkansas linebacker last year with a block. We know he's got some meanness to him. I think it's just you have to be a savage to be good. As a really good defensive lineman, you've got to be a savage person. And, you know, I'm ashamed that I didn't think of this before, but Senderick Marks is a guy that was back in the era when you could know players, and I knew Senderick pretty well as far as being a reporter. And he's a guy who – JJ's a nice person, okay? JJ Pegues is a nice human being. That's not to say that Derek Brown isn't a nice human being. He is. But Derek's a very intense person. Nick Fairley, I like him, but he's not a nice person. He's a very aggressive person. You think Takeo Spikes, another nice he's a very intense person. So there is precedent for kind of a chill dude being a good defensive player on the line because Senderick Marks was that way. Senderick is a relaxed, calm human being who was a very good college defensive lineman, and he played in the NFL for a number of years. So it can't happen. But is he going to be able to make that switch? Is he going to learn how to go from being JJ the nice guy to I'm going to bite you on the defensive line? Because you've got to have that attitude. So we'll see. But I'm with you completely on that, Shane. This wide receivers are very underwhelming, and I think they don't take a lot of pressure off of Bo insofar as they're not going to make many great plays to save him, to bail him out. Chip says Bo has this 2021 season to prove to this staff they don't need someone to step in at quarterback immediately in 22. Bo doesn't fix his mechanics, and I think he and the staff part ways. Interesting. There's a lot of people out there that are disappointed in Bo, aren't there? I mean, I get it. We all expected him to be excellent, and he's average so far. And today, I think he was average. I mean, he had some throws. There's 3 or 4 throws. If they go a different way, he ends up having a great day. But it's like that every game, isn't it? Like, every game's like that. There's 5 throws that kind of dictate, because there's, half the throws that a quarterback makes are just routine throws that are open. And then you've got 5, let's say, really challenging throws, and you got to try to make those count. And it seems like he doesn't do that very often. Chip says, I'm predicting it's going to be Demetrius Davis versus Gurnier, which is the kid they have committed for 22 at quarterback in 22. Hayden Gurnier, who is looking like an absolutely insane prospect. I mean, I'm not saying he's Trevor Lawrence, but he looks really good. And they got in on him early. So, Michael says he thinks Bo's legs are underrated. I think that's fair. I think he's a solid runner. I feel like people don't really appreciate the gray area between Nick Marshall and Tom Brady, They want them to be one way or the other, or Byron Leftwich or whatever, I mean, it's like, it's like if he's not Nick Marshall, he can't run. Well, he's not Nick Marshall, but he can run. Let's see. Slater says, I noticed on the sideline before the ones took the field that Harsin saw Bo standing in the outer part of the huddle. Harsin shifted Bo and moved him into the middle of the huddle to get in the mix. Teaching moment. Interesting. See? Some coaches would have just screamed at him and said, get your ass in there. But instead, Harsin just says, here, man, move over here. Harsin himself, a former quarterback, just kind of knows. It's interesting, though. That's a very interesting point, Slater. People say, oh, that's such a minor thing, But no, it's not. It's kind of indicative of how people look at things. Corey Dubb, my main man, says Landon King, the next Stonehands. Ay. Landon King, of course, the true freshman coming in from Houston. He's a tight end, although he's We joke about how JJ was too big to be a tight end. Landon is probably too thin to be a tight end right now. He needs to add some weight for sure. John Carolina says we all need to give Nick Marshall his flowers now. One of the best we will ever have here. Well, I feel like the people on the brain drain have been knowing that for a long time, to be honest with you. I mean, people here have been singing his praises for a long time, and you're absolutely right. He's a tremendous football player. He was a great football player here, and there's a lot to learn from him. There's a lot to learn from Nick Marshall, and I think sticking to your guns is one of them. Because in the end, he played in JUCO. He played out in BFE, damn near in Colorado. He's on the very tip of Kansas in Garden City. He's in the middle of nowhere, and I've driven there. I've been there. It is the middle of nowhere. And I also learned on that trip that I have agoraphobia. Anyway, I had to take some alprazolam. It happens. Very few teams were on him. There were 3 teams that gave a shit about Nick Marshall in recruiting: Texas, Kansas State, and Auburn. Texas wanted him to play defensive back, which is what he played in high school. I mean, he played basketball with he and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope were the 2 best basketball players in the state of Georgia that year. And a lot of people felt like he was better than KCP, who is now still in the NBA. So Nick could have been that. And then Kansas State wanted him to play quarterback, and Auburn wanted him to play quarterback. Auburn ended up getting him. He ends up being one of the best quarterbacks Auburn's ever had. He's not Cam, and he's not number 7, but he's one step below that. And here's a guy that very few people wanted. And still, one of my all-time favorite pictures is when Auburn played at Kansas State that year, and Nick meeting with Bill Snyder there on the field before the game, and a picture an AP photographer got of Snyder patting him on the head. I don't know why that picture gets to me like it does, but it sure does. Let me see. I think I might have it in here. I love showing that picture. Anytime I have a chance to see that picture, I show it. Nah, I'm not going to spend too much time looking for it, but you guys have probably seen it. Yeah, here it is right here. One of my all-time favorite pictures. And Bill Snyder, absolute, Hall of Fame type. I don't know why that picture gets to me, man. I mean, seriously, it makes me want to cry. Like, it just does. I don't know why. I feel like I'm on the verge of tears right now, honestly. Because Nick really loved Bill Snyder. He was like, this guy believed in me all this time. And the reason that Nick didn't go there is because he felt like he had a better shot at Auburn. Plus, it was closer to home. But Kansas State had another quarterback there. And at Auburn, it was him and Kyle Frazier. I mean, he knew he could get that job. Anyway, that's one of those pictures where I feel like I'm there in the moment. You can kind of hear the fans that din before the game. And you can kind of hear Bill Snyder's low voice. And you can hear him saying something really encouraging and positive and uplifting to Nick about, I love you, and I'm glad you're doing well at Auburn, and I wish I could have had you, but I'm glad to see you're being great somewhere else, and you got great things ahead of you. I mean, it's just that kind of thing, man. All-time favorite right there. Corey Dub says, Loy was awful. He was bad today. He didn't look good. No way Shea Garnett is worse. It's possible. PK Shadow Man in the house. Oh, I missed somebody earlier. Hold on. Who did I miss earlier? Anyway, PK Shadow Man says, I'm curious to see how Harsin develops Bo Nix. Harsin and Bobo. See what happens there. John Carolina jumping in. Seeing something genuine in a field from people where you see way too little of it. Very good. It's a very good kind of picking up something there. Canoe Man says it's the nature of recruiting of good kids wrapped up in a photo. Yeah, see what I'm saying? It's just such a positive feeling, man. I don't know. I just get such a positive feeling about it. John Carolina also says, how many coaches actually are about what they say as Snyder? Yeah, just talking about how coaches just in general. Well, football coaches less than basketball coaches. Basketball coaches are generally full of shit, right? Football coaches are less full of shit, but Bill Snyder was a really, really straight up dude. Andrew says, thoughts on Shea Garnett. Not really sure what to say about him right now. I mean, he's just so far down the depth chart. And you saw today that, at least in the pecking order today, which I'm not putting a ton of, I don't consider it in stone, but he was playing behind Demetrius today, and that's not a good sign for him. War Rapport. Aren't you guys doing a show? Says JG, what it do? Ho? Wait, what? wait, what?
Sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be shit.
I thought they were on live. If you are watching, bro, if that's Mike G or Ike, I didn't realize we were going head to head. I never want to do that. But sorry, man. I just thought today would be a good day to do a little show, you know, a little showy. Yeah, a little show. Oh, he wasn't trying to call me a hoe. He's trying to call me homie. Okay. That's great. Whew. I'm glad you're not mad. Anyway. Let's see. Somebody had asked earlier. We've talked about a bunch of football here, which is kind of what we're here for, Michael. I hope you're Michael M. We did have talked a lot of football here. I do want to mention, we had mentioned earlier, and I got these graphics made. We were talking about Wendell Green, who was the point guard that they signed from EKU via Detroit. Earlier today, we were talking about some of the pros and cons of those of you who have been watching the show. This is old, but for those of you who have just tuned in or didn't see this earlier, he had a great second half of the season from three-point shooting. As you can see, 45% from beyond the arc after February 1st. 20 points in 10 of his last 19 games. I think he probably averaged 25 a game for his last 4 or 5. I mean, he was on fire late in the season. I love this kid. And if I've never won a game as a basketball coach. I've never recruited a player. This is a kid I would have gone after. And I think a lot of him. I don't think he's going to be like, superstar right away. But I think this guy has some star potential, and I think he's a hungry dude. His dad's an important person in the AAU scene up in Detroit, which is a great place for basketball. So he's been around it his whole life, and I love this kid. I think this is a great addition to the team. We got a super chat coming through from Jackson S. No message offered, no message needed. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you for supporting this. And Michael says, thank you. Consider my taint tickled. I know. All right, so that's a look at Wendell Green. Again, shorter guy, 5'10"-ish. He's going to play point. It's rare that you would ever see a shooting guard he's a point guard. If you ask him, say, what do you play? He'd say point guard. You could play him at 2 some, the way that they played Jared at 2 a little bit, maybe for fun at times, but I think he's a 1 all the time. Not going to help you with rebounding. And the reason that he ended up at EKU, even though he played on very good teams, he played at La Lumiere in northern Indiana, which is like essentially a prep school. It's like a private school. It's great at basketball. The reason he had that pedigree but ended up at EKU is that he just doesn't have great size, and he doesn't have that incredible athleticism. He doesn't have that first step like you see from Sharif or even people a step down from that. But he just gets it done, and I think there's a place for guys like that. He's going to be a good player at Auburn. I guarantee it. I don't necessarily think he's going to be a big-time guy next year, but he's a guy who will be around a little while, and I think he's going to be great. And a really important part of their solution as point guard. Also got one made up for Walker Kessler. Excuse me. Walker Kessler, of course, the 7'1" center, transfers in from North Carolina. When he was going through recruiting as a high school player, it came down to Auburn and I thought it was Auburn and Georgia. And then kind of late in the process, because he's a Georgia legacy, he ended up switching and saying, I'm not going to Georgia. So it was Auburn and North Carolina. North Carolina kind of snuck in there late, got him. And I can't even really hate, man. I mean, it's North Carolina. It's Roy Williams. They needed a big guy. He knew Garrison through the AAU scene before, so he's had some guys there he knew. I get it. Went to North Carolina, had kind of an up-and-down season. Oh, Jackson was asking a question here. Chances on Scoot, if we land him, where do you see us in March? I'll tell you what, Jackson, if you give me a minute, I'll answer that question for you. I've got a whole page for you for that. Okay, so Walker Kessler, again, 7'1" center. Not like you think 7'1" center, it's going to be some dude like Andrew Bogut with his back to the basket. That's not how he does it. This guy is a modern-day center, face-up kind of player, gets out in transition. He's not a back-to-the-basket dude. He's coming at you, and he can shoot. He was 1 of 4 from 3 last year. I think he's got more in him. I think he can be a 30% three-point shooter. So the pros, length. He's a long dude. He's 7'1". That's great to have. He's not some goofy like Trayvon Reed dude who just happens to be tall. He's an effective tall guy. He knows what he's doing. He's got control of his body. Offensive rebound, he was insane as an offensive rebounder at North Carolina last year. I mean, I don't even know what to say. Like, if he had played at the level that he played, he only got like 8-10 minutes a game as an average. If he was a dude that got like 20-25 minutes a game, he would have been like the most effective offensive rebounder in college basketball last year. I mean, he's insane. He's got some special wiring in his head. He just gets it. I don't know. We're going to have to investigate this more as time goes on, but his numbers were just ridiculous, and I'll show them to you here in a minute. Shooting touch, the kid can shoot. I mean, he's got 6-footers, 8-footers, 10-footers. Again, 1 of 4 from 3. He can shoot from anywhere, and that's a real problem when you're trying to defend guys who are 7'1", who aren't magnetized to the basket, because he's going to be able to go out and hit jumpers, which is going to pull big guys out of the lane, and it's going to allow people like Trey, like Al Flanagan, to slash without having to worry about getting their shit stuffed in from the help side defense, because that guy has been pulled out because Walker can shoot. It's going to change Auburn's complete plan as far as slashing, because those guys are going to have clearance to take off. Speaking specifically about Al, Trey, JT if he's back, it's going to help Jabari as well. Another thing statistically that blows you away about this kid, and I'll show you these stats here in a minute, he was so good in transition. You don't think of a 7'1" guy as being a real asset in transition. It's like, just get him down the court, bro. But he was great. He got in great position. He understood spacing. He finished at the rack. He's going to be huge for them. This is, because Auburn, I think BP, when he's doing what he wants to do, he's a transition ball club, and they move at a frenetic pace, and he can do it. He's going to be great. And ball handling relative to size. He was kind of a turnover machine, although not as bad as Stretch. But he was a little bit of a turnover machine early in the season at North Carolina. But, man, the second half of the season, I think he had more assists than turnovers. If not, it was close, which is great for a 7'1" freshman. So I think he's going to be an asset as far as, he's never going to be a primary ball handler or anything like that, but you can pass him the ball and not feel like it's going to be an absolute disaster the way that it is with Stretch, The cons, of course, free throw shooting is not good, 54%. You got to do better than that. Scoring consistency, he had a great game, like an epic game against Notre Dame in the ACC tournament. We got an Auburn sucks guy. We're going to find out if this band thing works, because he's about to go bye-bye. He gone. Bye. Have a nice day. He's got to get better at the free throw line, because a 7'1" guy that's going to go to the hole he's got to get up. Got to get up to 70%. Scoring consistency, again, I'm sorry, I backed up a little bit there. He had a great game against Notre Dame in the ACC tournament, but then he followed that up with like a 6-point game and an 8-point game or a 4-point game. He just was all over the place. And I didn't watch every North Carolina game, so I can't sit there and tell you like what was going on. I know they had some other dudes that were definitely higher than him on the hierarchy as far as who's going to get the touches and stuff, but it seemed like he was inconsistent on the scoring end and defensive awareness. Defensively, most of his value is in shot blocking. He would have been one of the top shot blockers in college basketball if he had been playing 20-25 minutes a game last year, which he wasn't. Big-time shot blocker, and I mentioned earlier in the show, he's kind of like Kyle Davis was in 2003, 2004. Not a great defender per se, but he just was in position to swat balls, and I mean, there's value to that. So that's kind of Walker Kessler at 10,000 feet. I'd also want to give Jackson, I'm sorry if I banned you, brother. That was totally inadvertent. Corey Dubb jumping in with a super chat, $10 from my man Corey Dubb. Had a chance to again dine with him and his lovely wife a few weeks ago at a popular Tex-Mex spot here in Montgomery, and he's a quality individual. Thanks, bro. Appreciate you. I wanted to show you a stat on Walker Kessler. I showed you that sheet earlier with all of Wendell Green's play types, and these are Walker Kessler's play types from last year. Now, you look at these numbers, and these might not mean anything to you. They mean something to me because I look at these a lot. For offensive rebounding to be his number one play type is just weird. Like, they're not running stuff for him. He just goes in there and cleans it up. And you can see he has an excellent rating. So that means among all the players in college basketball, he's in the 83rd percentile as far as how effective he is scoring off offensive rebounds, like stickbacks. He's great at it. And you never expect a freshman to be like that. Now, he is 7'1", so that's going to give him an advantage, obviously, just from a physical standpoint. But it's more than that, because we've seen 7'1" players at Auburn who suck, and they couldn't do this. He just knows what to do. He's got great body control, and he understands just kind of where to position himself on that stuff. So you can see he was great as an offensive rebound guy, and you can see he was great in transition. It's not a huge data sample 19 possessions used and 25 points. But to get an 88 rating for a big man like that is insane. Like, again, he didn't play a ton. So it's not like he's got 800 minutes under his belt or anything like that. And that's just the nature of the beast because he was a freshman on a team that had a lot of players. But he sure looks like a guy that BP is going to be able to turn around really fast and add him into what they're doing and really blow up with him. If he's going to be this good in transition and he's going to be such a great offensive rebounder, oh, man. It's just that you have to think about him in the context of what they're doing as a team. So let's get to that. I pulled this up earlier. If you guys have been on the show for like 2 hours, you've probably already seen this, and I apologize for that. But, okay, so we were just talking about Walker Kessler. Look at what he's got around him. So now I've got him as the backup center right now behind Dillon. I think this is the way it would start right now if they were going to start playing. Because I happen to love Dillon a lot, and I thought he was coming on late in the season. I think he's got a ton of untapped potential. Jabari, this is basically the way I was seeing it earlier. Now, I've got Scoot as the point guard. I'm going to move Scoot over here, okay, because we don't know that. We were kind of speculating earlier on the show what would happen if Scoot Henderson ends up going with Auburn and signs with Auburn and ends up actually coming here. As it stands right now, this is probably what we're looking at. But there's work to be done. With Zep Jasper, the young man that came in from College of Charleston, he's got 3 years of experience at College of Charleston, played every minute last season as a point guard. Although I suspect they can get his shot a little bit better than it's been. I think he was 32 or 33% from three last year. I think he can do more than that. And then Wendell G, we talked about him earlier, the kid from EKU via Detroit. Those are going to be your 2 point guards. Now, if Scoot Henderson shows up, and I think it's between Auburn and the G League on him, now you move Wendell G. He stays right where he is. I think it goes to a Cambridge and Alexander fight for that second spot at shooting guard, and then you move Jasper to shooting guard, and I think you put Scoot at point. And I think that's what you're looking at. If that's the way this looks, this is one of the sickest rosters in America because Scoot's a 5-star, Jabari's a 5-star, Kessler's a 5-star. You've got some real ballers right there. I can't really put a percentage on Scoot coming to Auburn, though. I just don't know. It's hard. It's just really hard to tell. It's between Auburn and the G League, like I said, and I just don't know. And he technically is a class of 2022 guy anyway, so he may have another year in high school. He has the opportunity to reclassify earlier and get on campus earlier, or go to the G League earlier. But don't know. For me, I think JT is going to stay in the draft. I really do. If he doesn't, this creates some problems for Jalen in a big way because I still think Jabari's – I don't know. I still think Jabari's a frontline starter. So I think what happens here is you end up having a 3-man rotation at the 2 big spots. Well, you have a 4-man rotation, I guess. Kessler's going to play a lot. Cardwell's going to play some at least. Jabari's going to play a lot, and JT's going to play a lot. So you're going to have a lot of rotation there. To me, Flanagan's best as a 3. He can also play 2 if needed. But I think of him better as a slasher, as a wing. But look, I don't want to get too deep in the weeds here. The bottom line is they got a lot of talent, and if they get Scoot Henderson, it's going to be one of the most talented rosters in the country, in my opinion. I mean, it's going to be really, really good. War Eagles 0008 asks, what happens if Thor stays? Yeah, that's when it gets a little tricky because I just feel like Jabari is going to start. So I guess it would look more like this, I guess. You'd kind of have Jabari and JT as a platoon at power forward, and then it'd be really the same thing at center. You would have Kessler and Dillon kind of splitting time at center. So you'd have this 4-man rotation at 2 spots. And that leaves Zach Mbola out in the cold a little bit, which, it's just the way it goes. But Jalen's the tricky one, man. Jalen's a player. I mean, he's a real bona fide player. What happens to him? I don't know. That's why there's been speculation that he's looking to get out. And if this is what it looked like, you wouldn't blame him. Just a lot of players, man. It's a really, really good roster. A lot of options, and a lot of these dudes can do different things too. Dillon could play 4. Jalen can play 4 or 5 in a pinch. He could play some 3. You love having Chris Moore as like a 10th guy. I mean, he's a really good 10th guy. it's just a lot of options there, particularly if you've got Scoot. Let's see. War Eagle says Thor would have to start to come back. You think he's at the 3, Jabari at the 3. See, to me, they're both 4s. But you could play Jabari at 3, I think. But then it's like, okay, then what are you going to do with Al? You're going to play Al at 2? Because I don't think that's where you get the most out of Al. You get the most out of Al as a wing. So I still have questions at shooting guard, honestly, because I said earlier in the show, I'm not a big Cambridge guy. I think he's a good program guy, but I don't see him as an number 1 shooting guard, and I don't think he's ever going to be up to the standard that Samir was, and much less Bryce. I just don't think he's there. And then Trey Alexander, I don't know what to expect from him. Coming in, I know he's going to be a good player. He's a top 60 to 70 player. I think he's going to be good, but I don't think he's going to be a guy that comes in immediately and just blows it up. He could. I don't think so. But regardless, it's a really good roster. It's a really good roster. Spicy Pieces, are we going to have 3 starters 6'10"? It is absolutely possible. They got a lot of size, brother. Ravine! My main man, Ravine, is in the his. Says, JG, going to have to listen to the show on playback when I hit the road tomorrow. Keep doing your thing, Ward M. Eagle. I appreciate you, Ravine. Let me give you one of these right here. Thank you, bro. Appreciate you. Oh, Brian jumps in as well. Damn, son. Back-to-back super chats. This one from Brian L. says, War Damn. Appreciate you, bro. Let me give you a DJ air horn. Thank you, guys. Ravine and Brian. Absolute beasts. Let's see. Spread Attack says, Trey could be the takeover, but I love Kessler here as well. Caveman Life Coach says, I would like to hear a good reason why we saw so much of Loy. I mean, just letting him compete, man. And I don't think he was in there that much, was he? Let me see what the stats are. Loy goes, 4 of 12 on that team? 4 of 12? I mean, he didn't play an inordinate amount. I think they just kind of see what they've got with him, in a way. But, we've been talking on the show today. I mean, he doesn't look awesome. He doesn't look awesome. That the football schedule back there. Let's see if BMAT is up for. What are we doing on here? Let's see if we can get BMAT over here. I want to make sure that he's finished with all his interviews. And I hate interrupting a story. Like when you're writing a story and someone's like, hey, what's you in there? It's so annoying, dude. Like breaks your train of thought and stuff. Let's see. Spicy Pieces, how is Red Team's class higher rated than ours? I don't pay attention. Sorry, bro. Shane says we still need a true knockdown 3 shooting guard. Shane is drinking that 1920s. He's talking about the old Forrester 1920 version. That's a good one. That's a good one, man. I'm drinking this 4 Roads of single barrel strength. It's tasty. Kind of hard to find. And I probably drank more than I should, but it's good. That's pretty good, no doubt. Yeah, Spicy agrees we need another shooter. That's the thing, man. So if they get Scoot, they don't I don't think that's it. I mean, they've got what they've got. And they still have some decent shooters. I mean, I don't count on Devin. But Trey's probably a shooter. I mean, he's known as a shooter. Zepp's a pretty good shooter. I mean, Wendell was particularly good in the second half last year. I mean, he was 40% or better. So he gives you some shooting. Jabari can give you some shooting. Walker gives you some shooting. JT, if he comes back, gives you some shooting, although he's not great. And Al Flanagan. I wonder what Al finished shooting-wise this past season. Let's take a look. I know his numbers were crazy up, just across the board this year. Al finished at 34% three, which seems high, right? I thought he was lower than that. He ends up shooting 34% from three, 57% from two, and then 78% from the line. Wow. He went from 48% to 78% at the line. That's crazy, man. And his three-point percentage went from 14% to 34%. That's huge. You just take half a step more, and he's like, really good. I think he got a bad rap on the bunker this year. I'm going to be honest with you. I think people gave him too much shit. Canoeman says Devin will have his nights here and there. He didn't have many this year, though. It seemed like his first year he did, right? He was just super, flammable. Like some nights he'd be awesome and other nights he wouldn't. But, you look at Devin's last, 6 games. He had 3 in double digits, an 11, a 15, and a 14, plus an 8, a 4, and a 3. Just inconsistent. Just didn't quite have it. His three-point percentage was only 29%. He was 34 the year before. His two-point percentage was down. His free throw shooting was a lot better, but he's still at 58%. Oh, man. I think he's like an 8th or 9th guy to me. I just don't see that. I don't see it. I don't see much potential for greatness there. Nick S. in the house gets a boom. My main man. What's up, Dick? How you doing, bro? Had a chance to drink a few with Nick on St. Patty's Day, right? Yeah. We had a few of those. Although I was not going to drink that Irish whiskey, bro. Canoeman thinks it's crowd energy for Devin, meaning that Devin's kind of motivated or fueled by a crowd, that he's just a real emotional type basketball player. Nick's talking about we got to chat about doing a brain drain event. Yeah, we were talking about doing an actual show from my neighborhood bar, which up here it's called the Tipping Point in my neighborhood. A great little bar. And I would love to do a show there and just have folks who are in Montgomery or wherever just kind of come by and we can just drink and do the show. I don't know if you guys feel like we're quite there yet with the virus, though. I mean, if you guys would be comfortable coming into a bar, I am myself. But that doesn't mean that you should be, or I look down on you if you don't feel like you are. I'm not trying to do that. I just didn't know. There's going to be a point where people would feel comfortable going to a bar. I'm there already. Obviously, I would be there, but I like to have in a situation where other people are comfortable too. All right, let's see if we can get B-Man on the horn here, and I want to get his takes on what's up. All right, it's ringing.
What's up?
B-Matt, what up, bro?
Oh, just trying to do football and watching baseball at the same time.
Hey, now you're a multitasker, B-Matt.
That's right.
Thoughts on the A-Day game, Brian?
I thought Bo was pretty good in the first half. 10 of 13. 2 of his 3 misses were drop passes. Looked pretty efficient. Not quite as consistent in the second half, but it was interesting what Harsin said afterwards about the receivers not running the right routes and Bo, knowing where to throw it, but the receivers not being there a lot. So it sounds like just overall that group, the receivers got a lot to work on it. That's not really a surprise to me because compared to what they were doing under Gus, which was really simple, we've heard it many times of Auburn receivers going to the NFL, the ones that do have the opportunity, and how big of a change it is for them. Well, I think this whole group is sort of going through that now. Plus, they've had injuries.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a process with them, I think. That'll probably continue through the first half of the season, will be my guess, as they continue to get used to it and stuff. Let's see, sticking with the offense, I think this offense really fits Sean Schreiber's best. I think when he first came in, I looked at Sean as a scat back, a guy that you want to get out in space, blah, blah, blah. But in the reality, he's just a power guy that's, 5'7". But he does run well between the tackles, and he does break tackles, and he does bring a pretty good thump when he makes contact. So I think this fits him well. I thought he ran well. Tank Bigsby is Tank Bigsby, just what I expect him to be, one of the best players overall in the country, and the guy you're going to build this offense around. I thought Nick Brahms in particular blocked really well on the offensive line. He is much better than he was before. You can see where this, the new strength staff has put a emphasis on power, and you could see that in Nick Brahms, because he was one that I thought was a little bit underpowered. And I could see him creating some space and doing much better than he has his first couple of years as a starter, in my opinion. Offensively, Elijah Canyon, I thought, had a nice little touchdown catch there. Used his hands away from his body really well. I was impressed with that. I can't think about anybody else that caught my eye offensively. On defense. Some of the young guys, Wesley Steiner, I thought moved around really well. He looks like a future star to me at that inside linebacker. I really like how athletic the number one defense looked. I mean, they look like they're going to be good, and I think this defense really fits them. This attacking style, the linebackers being one gap guys who can just shoot up the field and just terrorize. I mean, I think this defense is really going to be exciting. I can see why they created a bunch of turnovers during some of the spring scrimmages, because of just the way they get after it. I don't think we saw everything they're going to do today, but I'd be really excited just about that group overall. I think there's a lot of depth in the front seven. Speaking of the front seven, I thought Derek Hall looked pretty good. He got after the quarterback a couple of times. Who else caught my eye up there? I saw Lee Hunter make a nice little play there. You can see his athleticism, and I saw him close up a couple of weeks ago when we went to practice. You could see his body's not there yet. He's not fully into shape, but you can see his athleticism out there on the field, and you can see what a really good football player is going to be after about another year or so, and in these workouts and stuff. I'm trying to think who else stood out today to me defensively. A shout out to Trey Elson. He's just a walk-on from Auburn High School, but made some plays for those backup DBs, and I think he's a guy that can help out on special teams and maybe work his way in there every once in a while. Trying to think who else stood out defensively. Interested in Caleb Johnson with the first team. He's a guy that every time we go out there, we see him make plays, but nobody ever talks about Caleb Johnson. So he's a guy to keep a really good eye on. So those are some of the guys that stood out to me overall.
And in general, you were trying to say that you thought Bo the drops aren't his fault. So you're saying that Bo you thought was solid-ish?
That's exactly what Brian Harsin called him. He called him solid. But I think when he was talking about Bo, he was talking about the whole passing game. And I think the biggest issue he felt there was, and he talked about it, I'm going to write about it, was the receivers and their development. And he said they asked a lot of the receivers and the tight ends as far as the motions, the switching plays, making adjustments and all these things. And I just think that's a lot to throw at a group that was just told to go down there and run an out, drawing up a play in the sand. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They're going from not very sophisticated to really sophisticated. So it's a big change for them.
Word. Who did you get to talk to after the game? It was Harsin. And did you get some players? Or did you get some coaches?
Let's see. We got Harsin and we got players.
Okay.
I went to the defense, so we had Smoke, we had Zacoby, and we had Owen. I think that was the three we got on defense. And I know they had Tank. I'm assuming they had Bo. We got Bo, Tank, and Nick Brahms on the offense. So that's the guys we got today.
Word. Okay. Very good. And Harsin seemed generally encouraged with what he saw today, eh?
I'd say so. I think he was especially excited about the defense and knows the offense is sort of a work in progress, so to speak. He said what they're going to do on Monday is just go over all the mistakes they made and, flesh those out, and that'll be the final practice. Then they'll give them a little time off for finals, and then come June 1st, they'll hit before then, but on June 1st, they'll be well into summer workouts, recruiting, and official visitors and unofficial visitors. So he says it's fixing to get going.
All right. Did you see young Christian there?
Yeah, he was there.
Yeah, that a boy. What a little badass he is, huh?
There you go.
All right, well, listen, now you're doing football and you're doing baseball too. Hopefully they can pull this series out and beat the Bammers, eh?
Got a run in the first, so that's with a 2-out single by Stephen Williams. That's a good start. So, yes, absolutely.
All bets are off until 3 outs in the 9th inning, though, right?
Yes, there is no, hey, they got this one. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, B-Matt, behave yourself, and let's try to stay out of trouble, okay?
I will. I won't get in too much trouble tonight.
All right, bro. See you, man.
Peace out.
Bye. There he is. Brian F. Matthews. You may know him better as Brian Matthews or B-Matt. Yeah, you know what, TJ? That's a great point. And B-Matt brought that up. There were some drops out there that I was probably not attributing, or I was attributing to Bo, that maybe he didn't deserve that. So that's a good point. B-Matt was of the opinion, and B-Matt is someone who is not prone to giving Bo a lot of slack, but he was saying that he thought Bo was solid today. If you take the drops away, statistically his numbers are probably about right. Now, I was harping on some of those back foot, unnecessarily falling down backward back foot throws that were terrible, but there weren't that many, I guess. And, hey, man, look, if Harsin looks at it and says he had a solid day, then maybe I was giving him too much trouble. I don't mean to be tough on Bo, but I think I'm with you guys in a lot of ways where, my expectations, him coming in with such a high recruiting profile, that he would be better than he's been. And maybe I'm expecting him, subconsciously to be more like Trevor Lawrence or something like that, and he's not, and he hasn't been. So maybe that's on me. So maybe B-Matt, TJ are worth listening to on that. So I texted with Jay Lee. Might as well try to get Jay Lee on. I mean, hell, why not? And see what he's got to say. He said he was watching the A-Day game. And we'll just see what Jay Lee's up to. You never know. It's ringing right now.
Lee County Sheriff's Department.
Yeah, I'm looking for Jeffrey Lee. Is he up in there?
Yeah, he's in for an automatic 24.
What up, bro?
How you doing, man?
Well, we're just brain draining, and we had some folks wanting to talk to you, so I thought we'd get you on the horn and ask you. Thought we'd ask you some of the hard questions, like who's going to be QB2, man?
That is a very good question, and I think without a doubt, after what I saw today, is I'm taking my lumps with D. Davis.
I have to agree with you.
Okay. I mean, no slight to what's the other boy's name? Grant Loy?
Yeah, Grant Loy from Bowling Green.
I mean, if he needed to come in and clean up a game, that'd be fine. Hand off and maybe throw a 5-yard out or something. But was not blown away by him. I think I take my chances with a true freshman who's really talented before I do that. But yeah, man, that's a position of worry in my opinion after today.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, and listen, Demetrius looked pretty good. I mean, honestly, he had a great throw to Malcolm Johnson Jr. So
yes,
there's a foundation to build on there.
I completely agree. I was expecting a little bit more from Grant Loy, and I wasn't expecting a guy who could come in and win the SEC championship, but I was expecting a more. I don't know if it's polished or what, but he just didn't wow me to the point where I was ready to throw 18 in there before I would put 14 in there.
What do you think happens to Shea Garnett at this point?
Is it bad that my first thought was who?
Kind of. I mean, people are just he came in behind Dede today.
Yeah. And I'm gonna be honest with you, dude. When Auburn signed him, I never thought he would see meaningful play. I really didn't.
I didn't either.
I never thought this guy was going to be a factor in the quarterback race for the 4 to 5 years that he's here. With the transfer rule, I would expect him to end up at Jackson State or somewhere like that and be in maybe an average to above average, D2 guy.
So this is basically he's a guy that Gus just really thought could be good in time, right?
He is a guy Gus had to settle on because he couldn't get anybody else.
Kind of a rebound girl, huh?
He just wasn't a guy that – it wasn't like he beat out SEC schools for this kid. And hey, I shouldn't be pounding on the kid, but he's just – I never expected him to be in the conversation. So when you asked me about him, he was the furthest thing from my mind.
Yeah, okay. It was a little bit like that for me too, but some folks in the chat were asking. Brian L. just wanted to know if you could provide a recruit scoop. You got a special scoop you got in your mind right there?
You know what? I will. I wasn't expecting Quinshon Judkins, the running back from Pike Road, and he was there. I thought that was huge because he is a absolute top target for Cadillac Williams and Auburn. He is a guy that Auburn absolutely wants at running back. They want 2 running backs in this class, and for him to be on campus today, I thought was big. And they want to get him back in June or as soon as possible for an official visit. But I think it was in February at the Rivals camp, and Chad Simmons, our guy who has moved on since, but he was over there and he called and told me, he said, Jeffrey, Auburn's definitely a player for this kid, but man, he's really looking national, and Penn State has made him a priority. Some of the other big schools have made him a priority, so he's definitely looking around. And but to see him today in Auburn, I thought was big, and kind of puts Auburn back to the forefront in his recruitment. And I hope to talk to him either later today or tomorrow and see what he has to say.
Word, okay. There's a recruit scoop. Attaboy, Jay Lee.
Yeah. I got you, dog. But, but other than that, Alabama had their A-Day today. Georgia had their G-Day today. And if you were expecting 5 stars and top 100 guys to shun Georgia and Alabama to come to Auburn, you were your expectations were too high. Emory Floyd, the DB from the Atlanta area, came in today. Auburn leads for him big. I think Auburn will get his commitment. He's coming in the first week in June for an official visit. I think Auburn's going to end up with him. This is a guy who Georgia wanted, and Auburn really needs to get Zach Etheridge, Derek Mason. Both have made him a high priority in the defensive backfield. He was there today, putting out video on Twitter. Really likes it. I think he'll come back in June for an official visit and then commit soon thereafter. Really like Auburn's chances with him. So, and then there were some 2023 guys there today. Some 4- and 5-star kids, some early ranked kids that were there today. AJ Harris, Joyner, Braden Joyner, I think is his name. First name Bradlin or Braden, I don't know how you pronounce it. But so there were some underclassmen there today, and that's the guy. Those are the kids that Auburn's got to get in right now. They're late on these 2022 kids. Let's be honest here. But you got to get a jump on these 23 kids. And for the past week, we've seen Auburn reaching out and offering a lot of these 23 kids, trying to get in the boat early with them, build those relationships so they won't be so far behind in that class, as opposed to this 2022 class.
Yeah. Last thing for you, some people were asking about Scoot Henderson. We're changing sports here completely, but Scoot Henderson,
Sure.
You've written a bunch about him. It sounds like it's down between Auburn and the G League. Generally,
Sure.
Do you think he's going to end up at Auburn or no?
I do, man. I do. And I think it's Auburn until it's not. I know we've heard that since the Cristobal coaching news came up, and all the bunker was, they were refusing to believe anything other than it was Mario Cristobal. But as far as Scoot goes, Auburn has put him at the top of the freaking list, and for years. This is not something sudden. They've been counting on this kid to come in, hopefully to reclassify for at least a year now, and I really think it's getting closer. It's getting closer, and there are, he's the one they're waiting on. He's the one that they will continue to wait on, and it might be. I've said this a couple of times in the past. I think I said it on the rundown. It could be tomorrow. It could be next month. We just don't know. They're taking their time. Him and his family. They want to make this the best decision they can. But as far as when it comes to options for him, I haven't heard any legit options other than Auburn when it comes to college. I haven't heard, here comes Kentucky or here comes Baylor like we did with Ty. It's been Auburn, always has been, and it continues to be if it's not going to be the G League.
All right. You heard it here first. War Eagle 0008. There's your answer. Jay Lee, you're an absolute beast. I appreciate you spending some time with us, bro.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Glad to have me.
All right. Behave yourself out there.
Glad to have me.
See you, bro.
Later.
Bye. There he is, Jeffrey Lee, an absolute beast. Got some answers there. Got some recruiting scoop that Quinshon Judkins was there in the flesh at Auburn's game. Jay Lee mentioned on the rundown on Friday, we did the Friday show, he was concerned that because Alabama, he mentioned this on the show too just a minute ago, that since Alabama and Georgia were having their big days today, that Auburn really wasn't going to be able to compete with them, but to be able to get Quinshon Judkins, a tailback from Pike Road, to come over there and meet with them is pretty big. Fat Crack with a super chat. Says JGT, we were really flying around out there. Of course, flying around out there. That's good stuff. Yeah, Quinshawn Judkins, it's weird for me as someone who lives in Montgomery, I've been in Montgomery a long time, to think that there's already a kid at Pike Road School that's at this level, that's like being recruited by Auburn and Penn State and Florida State and all that. I mean, Pike Road's to me, it's a brand new school, and it's already got, Park Crossing's already got kids too. That the kid who went to Louisville to play quarterback, I forgot his name now, but they've already got kids, and they're about the same age. The school is as Pike Road, but it's just strange. It's weird for me to just get my head wrapped around that. Goose Flat Waterfowlers. Man, that's a real tongue tie there. So JGT, how would you rate this season's schedule? ESPN has us as the second toughest. Well, you've got Akron, which is a cupcake. Alabama State's a cupcake. Penn State at Penn State is an absolute beast. Although there has been some chatter. I think we've talked about this in the bunker. There's been some chatter that the Auburn-Penn State game could be flipped in that Penn State may be coming to Auburn this year, and Auburn will go to Penn State next year because of COVID limitations or COVID restrictions, I should say, at Penn State, whereas at Auburn, probably not. So they may flip that. I don't know. If Penn State ends up being 10% capacity, they may want to flip it so they can get a full capacity game the next year because Auburn's going to be either close to or at full capacity this year. That's something to keep an eye on. But as it stands right now, at Penn State is a tough game. At LSU, being able to play there, haven't won there since '99. It's going to be a real bear. At Arkansas, of course, Arkansas is getting better, a lot better last year. Ole Miss at home, Ole Miss is getting better. At A&M, I happen to think A&M is going to be a step behind where they were last year. Mississippi State, I saw some people had them in the top 10 this year. Was that a joke or was that a meme I got hooked in by? I don't know. At South Carolina, I don't know what to expect from them with Shane Beaver there now. And then, of course, Alabama at home this time. Yeah, it's a tough schedule. You never really get to stay comfortable at home very long, do you? It's always road, home, road, home, road, home. At least you don't have back-to-back road games. It's a plus. Renard mentions Malik Cunningham. Exactly. He's the kid from Park Crossing who plays at Louisville. That's the guy whose name got away from me earlier. I guess I'm getting up there in age. I actually live maybe half a mile from Park Crossing. I live right behind Park Crossing. And so I pull for those kids, even though that's a tough one for me. I've met Malik, and I feel like he's since I'm right behind the school, he's like my guy. I'm a Thunderbird, right? Because I live right by it. But he's in Louisville, and I don't like Louisville. But I'm still pulling for him anyway. That's a tough schedule. But, here's the thing, man. We've all been talking about Auburn and loving Auburn for a long time. That's just life, man. That's just life at Auburn because you've got the West schedule, which a lot of people have, and then you're going to have to rotate in Georgia every damn year. And that's just life at Auburn. And I think it's part of what makes this job hard, but at least Harsin isn't out there crying about it. He's just like, suck it up. We're going to go head up with these people. We're going to do the best we can. And I'm not worried about Nick Saban, and I'm not worried about Kirby Smart. I think it's the right attitude. He's respectful, but at the same time, not scared. JGT was at the boys' baseball today and late getting on the drain. How do you assess the game and the potential of the next season? Good question. I don't put a lot of credence into A-Day ever. I think it's just an exposition, and it's just dicking around for the most part. So I don't really put a lot of credence into it. I just watching Bo, I didn't think Bo was particularly good, but Brian and a couple of the folks in the chat had mentioned that he did have some drops. And Harsin himself said he had a solid day, so I'm not going to be too hard on Bo. I thought Tank really showed out and was an absolute badass, and BMAT and I were both in agreement. We came to these separate conclusions, the same conclusion separately, that Wesley Steiner had a good day. I really like him. Lee Hunter was wearing that 44, and I thought he was balling up a lot better than you would expect for somebody who just got out of high school. So, yeah, solid. I think it's unlikely that this team's going to challenge for a West title next year. I don't see it. And even though I think the culture changes have been for the better, I just don't. The schedule just doesn't set up for Auburn to get on any runs, really. At Penn State, assuming they are going to play at Penn State, not flip it around, that's a tough game. Then you got at LSU's always a problem. Even if LSU sucks, Auburn has a trouble down there. Georgia's always a troublemaker. At Arkansas is going to be tough because Arkansas is pretty good. And Ole Miss is not a gimme anymore. And Alabama, you just don't. I mean, the only way you can get on a run there is that Ole Miss. Maybe you can get one at Arkansas, maybe. And then you maybe can get Ole Miss. And then maybe you get at A&M. And then you get, I don't know what to think of State. There's people out there that think State's going to be really good. But yeah, to me, that's. I just don't see. I don't think this team's going to be awesome this year. I think it's tough. It's tough. Jackson says, JG, what's your Instagram? I think we've got I don't. You really use Instagram? You just hit me, Jackson. I see it here on my phone. You found me. Yeah, you found me. I forgot what my actual handle is here, so I just don't really use it. Maybe I'm too old for it or something. I don't know. It's Ob Sports is what we call ourselves on the Instagram. And the last time that I posted something to Instagram was from the Sugar Bowl. January 1st, 2017. That was a minute ago. Anyway, your Instagram looks great, Jackson. You're doing a hell of a job with it. Let's see. Johnny T says, what's up with JJ on the cast? Oh, you mean like Jay Jacobs? Essentially, it's just kind of an inside joke, really. They did a story. I think it was in the Alumni Magazine. If Canoe Man's here, he would know that, and Pocket Watch, too. They did a story in the Alumni Magazine a number of years ago when they first started the gaudy-ass scoreboard in the south end zone, and it was entitled Big Vision. And you can see right there, that was at the top of the story, and it was crediting Jay Jacobs, for building this garish, nouveau riche, gaudy scoreboard and giving him full credit for that and the Lego or the double wide, which whatever. And so I just thought it was a clever way to kind of make fun of Jay and then also have the name of the person who was on the phone at the time, which it says Jay Lee. It was Jay Lee. And we need a new one. I thought about just crudely putting Alan Green's face on Jay Jacobs' body there and just kind of going with it that way to kind of update it a little bit. But Pocket Watch, I said he would know. He says he thought it was Tiger Roar, the Tough Donor show. So that might be what it was, a Tough Donor magazine or whatever, newsletter. But that's that. Essentially, I just am mad at Jay Jacobs and will forever be mad at Jay Jacobs, and it's just kind of my way to give him the middle finger, if you want me to be honest with you. I mean, there was a time that I liked Jay Jacobs, but then he lied a lot, and I got pissed off. And I don't like it that he lied a lot, and he also tries to make fun of me for being Catholic. It's almost kind of like this it's like this piety thing, and then he's the one who's lying. Like, bugs me. I hope that answered it for you, Johnny T. Appreciate you being here and asking a good question. I appreciate that. TJ Moultrie said the OL was the standout for you. Yeah, they did a lot of running, and I agree. I thought they did a nice job against that defensive front. There were several plays somewhat early in the game, against the ones where they were getting some really good push. Look, man, my criticisms, and I think our criticisms of the offensive line last year didn't necessarily center around the run game. It's more pass game. Pass pro was not good, and that was the limiting factor. I thought the run blocking was okay. I thought they were SEC average last year, and I think they can be a little bit better than that this year. Run blocking, just got to find a way to get the pass blocking a little bit better. But I think they're going to de-accentuate the pass game, is my opinion, because obviously Bo's got his issues, and the wide receivers to me are the weakest part of the team. So why not accentuate your run blocking and your badass All-American tailback? It just seems like it's a no-brainer to me. TJ Moultrie said, he says Jay lied to everyone. He did. He did. I can't speak for everyone, but
sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
Pocket Watch says an appropriate way to laugh at Jay Jacobs for the person he is. I wish him well at Florida. I'm shocked that he landed on his feet the way he did, but Scotty Strickland, who is the AD at Florida, is an exceptional human being. One of the classiest people I've ever met in this business at any level. And, he was very friendly with Jay, and, obviously he's finding some value for Jay. So that's awesome. I'm glad it worked out. What else am I missing? Spicy Penguin's going there. He refers to him as Jay Ticket Scandal Jacobs. I don't have any comment on that. AU Pooch says Pocket Watch is good, people. Hell yeah, he is. We love Pocket Watch. And I also think it's really cool, Pocket Watch and Canoe Man. And there's a few of you that go on, our friend Gabe, who runs the Missouri side at Power Mizzou. He does a show with him and Mitchell 40. Don't hold it against Mitchell that his dad's Pat 40. It's not his fault. They do a show over there called like the 689 or something like that. And you guys are on there too. And so I'll jump on the show because I love Gabe. And I'll see you guys on there. And it just makes my heart happy. I know you guys jump on the Oxford Exxon podcast at times. I don't know if you guys are on there as much, but because Neil can be a little much at times. Gabe, not so much. Gabe's generally pretty chill, calm, thoughtful person. Caveman Life Coach, great name. The tight ends looked better schemed than the wide receivers did, plus a couple of those drops were straight up effort drops. I have to agree with you on the tight ends. I've been tricked so many times as a reporter into believing this tight end bullshit. It goes back to like 1999 when Tubb was like, in 98 at Ole Miss, Tubb had like a all SEC or maybe even all American guy named Rufus French. And he was like, we're going to have our own Rufus French here and we're going to use tight ends. And it never really happened. I mean, Lutz and Kirkin had a really good year. This is after Tuberville left, but Lutz and Kirkin had a couple really good years. But really, man, he was kind of more of a flex inside receiver. More so than a traditional tight end, although, I mean, Lutz was a bad man. And then CJ, who's still in the NFL and a tremendous player, he was really underutilized at Auburn. So it was a long time between impact tight ends. And so I feel like Auburn's got guys that can be that, particularly Brandon Frazier. I don't know as though we saw today. Fromm, Deal. They've got dudes. Plus Landon King. Patrick P. says, please tell me. Please, God, tell me they're going to go look for a transfer quarterback. I got some bad news for you, brother. I mean, I think they would consider one, but if you want my opinion, they need a left tackle more, which they have said they're not going to go get. And I also think they need another tailback, which they haven't really commented on one way or another. I think they need another, like, real tailback. I mean, obviously Tank's a stud, and Shivers to me is kind of a sideshow, but he's reliable for what he is. I think you need another guy. It doesn't have to be someone awesome. Just for fuck's sake. How about like Zach Stacy? Someone like Zach Stacy, who played at Vanderbilt maybe 10 years ago. Like, just solid player. Let's see. Charlie Williams says, Robert Johnson. Listen, man, rah-rah. I know him. I love him. He's from Montgomery, Jeff Davis High School graduate. And I mean, he played tight end at Auburn and he played it well, but even with him, I felt like he was underutilized. I thought he should have been more of a stud than he was, and it wasn't his fault. And I mean, Tommy Trott, he played a bunch at Auburn too, another Montgomery kid from Trinity Presbyterian, but I thought he was underutilized as well. Maybe this team won't do it. Ed D says, I'm concerned with our number 1 and number 2 running back returning kickoffs. Fair point. The thing is, Harsin and Bert Watts, the defensive coach that also works special teams, has said that everyone on this team is going to play a role in special teams, that they're willing to run that risk that someone's going to get hurt on special teams to create that culture that everyone's involved. They don't want anyone to feel like I'm above the rule, And I mentioned this earlier that I see some similarities between the way they operate between Chizik and Harsin. I'm just talking like from a personality perspective. But what got Chizik in trouble at Auburn was double standards, letting some players feel like they didn't have to do things or like they lived by a different set of rules than other players. Harsin does not allow that to happen. That's just not what they're going to do. And I think that's a critical subtle but critical difference between those two coaching staffs, and I think that's one of the reasons that I have a better feel for Harsin in general. I just think he's more likely to be successful in time. I just don't know if they have the players right now. Kilgore Knight says Cooper Wallace, great player, man. I forgot about him. And Anthony Mix, again, I think of him as a flex inside receiver. Were the last real ones besides Lutzenkirchen, a few plays a game. Yeah, Cooper Wallace was a good one. Cooper Wallace, again, similar to Robert Johnson in the sense that I thought he was a better player than he didn't get as much run, I think, as he should have. But we were just kind of in an era where tight ends were de-accentuated. I know, not at Wisconsin, not at Arizona, not at Texas, but at the other places where this whole Chip Kelly, Gus Malzahn, whoever else you want to attribute it to, Sean Payton did a lot of the same kind of stuff. Spread, tight ends were de-accentuated, and that's kind of what happened. I think this team's going to actually use the tight end some. I doubt it's going to be like a huge thing, but I bet you they end up getting 5 catches a game as a group, and I think it's good. TJ says, wasn't Cooper a quarterback at first? I can't speak to what he was before he got to Auburn because it's just kind of out. I forgot. It's so long ago. But no, he was a tight end here. I think Cooper was from Nashville, right? Again, the years get away from me. Caveman Life Coach said Tank looked quite a bit bigger too. Definitely looked bulkier in his upper body for sure. And he was already a badass. He is going to get ragged on a little bit for that fumble, though, first drive. Made a great move. He absolutely juked Wooten out of his shoes. And then as he was driving upfield, instead of probably taking the wise move, which would have been to get out of bounds, I always hear Joe Cribbs in my head because I wrote a big story about Carnell Williams years and years ago when Carnell was playing at Auburn, and Joe Cribbs, I interviewed Joe Cribbs about it because I think Joe Cribbs is a freaking beast. And he was always like, I think it would behoove Carnell to get out of bounds sometimes, and look, man, I know Tank, man, he's going to make his money by just crushing people and taking people straight up and just defaming linebackers. He's got the body to do it. He's got the attitude to do it. He can do it. Sometimes you got to go out of bounds, right? Like, you can't always try to kill people. And he was going into a group of like 3 defenders. There was literally no way he was going to win that battle by himself. So just go out of bounds. And he didn't, and he got the ball stripped and lost the ball. And it doesn't matter in the A-Day game. Nobody gives a shit. But if that's LSU and it's the fourth quarter and you're up 3 and you're in your own half, now you're in trouble. You see what I'm saying? I don't know. We'll see. We've done a lot of talking today. Let me rephrase that. I've done a lot of talking. You've done a lot of typing. And it sure is great to be back on the airwaves. Appreciate you guys giving me an opportunity to do that because you're here and you're listening and you're watching and you're typing. And in some cases, you're super chatting and you're giving me a thumbs up. Smash that like button. If you're a mad lad, smash that like button. If you're going to have a great time tonight and make responsible decisions, but yet have fun, smash a like if your wife's really hot or your husband's really hot. Yeah, and also subscribe to our channel. I know that you guys are subscribing to our channel on YouTube because you guys are all absolute badasses. But if you're not subscribed, please do that. It doesn't cost anything, and it just lets you know when I go live. And I'll be going live more now that we've got other things to talk about. There we go. I'm getting some thumbs up on that. It just lets you know when I go live. Really, that's about all it does. Let's see. William Stovall says, we always talk bourbon, but favorite IPA. So, about the IPA thing. Your boy, I go to my doctor every 6 months for various reasons, and I went in October, and I was way too heavy at that time. So I told my doc, I was like, look, man, next time you see me, which is going to be in about 2 weeks, you're going to see me a lot thinner. And he was probably like, likely story, bro, whatever. So I've lost 35 pounds since then, and he's going to be really fired up. But the way I did that was, man, I had to cut out beer. Beer just gets me bloated for some reason. So I haven't been drinking much beer. I probably had 2 or 3 beers total since October. Now, you're thinking to yourself, hey, JG, it's great that you're not drinking beer, but you're still drinking all this, and it's lots of sugar. My answer to that is, you worry about you, and I'll worry about me, okay? I just haven't been drinking a lot of beer. And if I was drinking beer, it wouldn't be an IPA. It's just not my thing, man. Not hating. I appreciate you IPA bros, you guys who drink the double IPAs. That's awesome. But for me, that super, super hoppy taste is just not for me. So if I have my choice, I'm drinking like a Belgian, or I'm drinking a white beer, or what do they call it, a wheat beer, or whatever. I'm drinking something like that, and my IBU number would be low. Yeah, my favorite beers are Le Fin du Monde. I would love to have a cold Fin du Monde that wouldn't make me feel bloated. That's a delicious beer. Love it. And then really whatever else my man Johnny Weatherford has in the cooler. That's what I drink, pretty much. William S. says, hell yeah, JGT. Props, my man. Props to you, bro. Thank you for you're complimenting me on my weight loss, and then I'm complimenting you on being an absolute badass. Love it. TJ says, it's possible that we look better in the fall compared to other years. Just possible. Yeah, it'd be awesome. Wouldn't it be awesome that Auburn starts off the season kind of understanding who it is and doesn't spend 4 games trying to figure out listlessly like a drunk man fumbling around in the dark trying to find the toilet in a house he doesn't know? It's kind of like what it was like with Gus these last few years, right? Maybe Harsin and Bobo and Derek Mason, they won't have that problem. In which case, Auburn would have its shit together for Akron and would have its shit together for Alabama State and would go into Penn State game knowing what it is, understanding what works best. That would be terrific. I think we would all be fired up if that were the case. Caveman Life Coach is talking about Bo. He says it was better today, but he still had some moments where he felt pressure and bugged out a couple seconds too soon. I think we would definitely agree. Look at this. We got a super chat from one of our absolute all-star favorites. My main man, Cleve C. from Middle Georgia. He's over there in enemy territory, but he's holding the line. He says, Big JGT, WDE, you talk like an ex-football coach. Always enjoy your comments and great to see those good comments today about Auburn football. What do you say best win-loss this year? Cleve, first of all, thank you for the super chat, bro. And listen, we have not forgotten what you did during the coaching search, which was super chat and comment like an absolute beast and post in the bunker like an absolute beast and provide a 10-year Old Rip Van Winkle for me to drink during the show. Cleve C did that. Some of you guys are like, who's Cleve C? Cleve C's that guy. He's a legend. Thank you, Cleve C. Now then, as to your question. Let's go through this list here. Akron W, Bama State W, Penn State. Penn State I don't want to comment on. And the reason is that I don't know where that game's going to be played. Again, there's some credible chatter that game's going to be switched to Auburn this year. If Auburn's playing in Auburn against Penn State, I like its chances a lot better than at Penn State. So I'm going to hold off on that one. Georgia State, 3-. Let's go ahead. We'll get to Penn State later. So 3-0 at LSU. I got to say that's a loss until I know it's a win. Because look, man, Auburn loses in Baton Rouge all the time. It is a new staff though with a different attitude. Georgia, I think Georgia's better than Auburn right now. So to me, that's an L. At Arkansas, to me, that's an L. But we got a long way to go, and we need to see if Arkansas can kind of can take that inertia that they created last year and then apply it to this year. I don't know if they're more of a one-hit wonder, if they kind of had that little engine that could attitude last year that they wouldn't have this year because they're not really the little engine that could anymore. I don't know what to expect from Arkansas. Ole Miss, something tells me that game's going to be a real bitch. Ole Miss is with Lane Kiffin, with him recruiting the way he does and the way that he schemes on offense, because I think he's as good as anybody in college football on offense. He's going to have games this year where he absolutely wrecks people, and it just seems like, it's close. That game was really close last year. It shouldn't have been. Auburn was much better in the beginning. Ole Miss was much better in the end, and that game got awfully close at the end. Auburn was lucky to win that game. You think Auburn would win in Jordan-Hare against Ole Miss? We've seen a lot of those wins, but I don't know, guys. I'm going to give Auburn the win there, but I don't feel good about it. I think Auburn will win at Texas A&M. I think Auburn will beat Mississippi State. I think Auburn will win at South Carolina, and I think Auburn loses the Iron Bowl at home. So let's see, losses. That's 1, 2. I think Arkansas is a loss. So that's 3, 4 with Alabama. That means that Penn State could be the 5th. At that point, you're looking at 7-5. I'm not trying to be Mr. Negative. I could be wrong, okay? Cleve, I know you're a reasonable, rational person, but so I'm looking at a 7-win season, and you guys are thinking, JG, good God, really? SEC took some big steps forward last year. Arkansas went from absolute dog shit to like pretty solid team last year. And then you're playing in their house. It's just a matter of, are they still the little engine that could? I don't know. I don't want to say it's easy. Just when you first start, the way Tubb did. Like 98, Auburn sucked. 99, they kind of got their sack back. And then in 2000, they really kind of put a lot of things together. They got Rudy. Plus, they still had Ben. And they just kind of got this identity, right? Dontarius was playing great. And they just had this real belief. And then after that, it slid a little bit. You just wonder if Arkansas, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to follow that pattern or not. Anyway, Cleve, you're an absolute beast. Thank you, brother. So that's what I'm looking at. Listen, guys, we're now at the 3 hour. We're actually at 3 hours and 12-minute mark. It's longer than I thought we would go today, but we've had so many incredible chatters today. Great questions, great stuff to talk about. We talked about A-Day. We talked about basketball. We've gone into both of those topics multiple times, even to the detriment of some people who got upset about it. TJ Moultrie adds that Blanton Bourbon is really good. Hell yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Alan Crooks also makes a great point that first-year Auburn coaches' records are pretty good. I mean, Bowden did a great job his first year. Tubb was like 500-ish his first year. Did much better his second year. B. Parham. I didn't even know this. JGT, tonight's biggest Magic City Classic ever. Your hometown team, the Hornets, and my hometown team, Alabama A&M, tonight in Birmingham for the Magic City Classic. I covered the SWAC for a year. I covered Alabama State in 1998. I think it was 1998. I had a really good time. I kind of miss those days in a way because I was the only reporter, I was the only reporter. And so if I want to talk to somebody else, walk up to them and ask them a question. So I'll keep an eye on it. I did see that the Hornets smacked Coach Dion around a little bit maybe a month ago. That was pretty good. I like it. Corey Deb says, time to get home and drink, boys. That's the right attitude. That's the right attitude. It's the plane of today. I love it. Pocket Watch says, I keep forgetting college football is happening now. I love that phrase. I keep forgetting. Not in love anymore. Little yacht rock there, Michael McDonald. But I wish I could remember so I could watch it. Well, I'm telling you right now, Magic City Classic tonight, Hornets, Bulldogs, ESPN, be there or be rectangular. How did I do? It's the Magic City Classic. Covered Alabama State. Enjoyed it. Had a good time. Ron Dickerson, he didn't like me at the time, though. He thought I was a pain in the ass. Although maybe I am a pain in the ass. He's probably right. Anyway, I guess we'll wrap it up there. I do want to give a shout out to all of our badass super chatters who are absolute beasts. Well, we got a bunch of beasts here, but I'm just being honest about it. Oh, don't you do it to me. It's not letting me see all of my super chatters, aside from Fat Crack and Cleve C, which is upsetting. But I know I can remember some of these. I better not do that. If I do an incomplete list, it's disappointing to everybody. Dadgummit. Well, I usually like to finish with a complete list of super chatters, but I'll have to put that on the bunker today. It's unfortunate, but I'll do it that way if I have to. Anyway, guys, appreciate y'all being here with me today. We spent a good 3 hours and 15 minutes together. Let's see. Parham says, bro, JGT, great work as usual. Corey W, you definitely have a voice for radio, J. And next up, Corey W saying, what up? Renard says, Akel Glass is must-watch TV, A&M quarterback. Ooh, interesting. A&M's got a quarterback now, huh? I got to admit, man, I mean, having been in Montgomery all this time, I'm Bama State homer, I guess. So I've never felt good about Alabama A&M. You know, that's like the team that I just feel like are the really bad guys in the SWAC. Eric O. That's a great one, man. I'm glad you're dropping this here at the end. It says, hey, Barbara, I still hate you. Barbara was she was the Gonzaga fan that jumped on our Gonzaga feed and was like, she wasn't really talking shit. She was just kind of like being a confident Gonzaga fan. Shout out to Barbara wherever you are. She's probably really disappointed that they lost to Gonzaga. I'm sorry they lost to Baylor. And Davion. Damn you, Davion. Eric O, by the way, he used his name on here, but he's a great poster on the bunker that was unfairly maligned yesterday. Oh, not he got banned briefly, and he should have gotten. Well, let me rephrase that. He got banned indefinitely, and he should have been banned just very briefly. It was kind of a screw up. It wasn't like an IT problem. We got to fix this morning, but anyway, Eric, appreciate you, bro. All right, guys, we'll wrap it up there. Appreciate you guys watching, listening, talking, chatting, super chatting. Just being badasses. My push to you would be, let's make great decisions tonight. I'm going to go dine with some friends, and I'm going to drink some bourbon, and I'm going to stay hydrated. I've got my water here with me. If you guys are out there drinking, remember that drinking and driving is never a good idea. You always want to leave that up to somebody who's not been drinking. Or you can just walk home, which is what I do. And always bunker responsibly. Unless you don't want to bunker responsibly, and then you don't have to. Those of you, if there are some of you who are not subscribers to auburnsports.com, you need to be. I know most of you from the bunker, so I know that I'm speaking to the choir on this, but our message board at auburnsports.com is called The Bunker, and it is absolutely insane in a good way. So many great posters, clever posters, witty posters, weird threads. Reading the one the other day about S-Town enthusiast thinking that he had a dream that he had become part of a human centipede. I mean, it's not even that weird anymore to hear people say things like that. Check us out at auburnsports.com. I think for an annual, it's still $99 a year. So that's like $8.25 a month for access to the greatest message board ever. And all the incredible content that BMAT cranks out, that Jay Lee cranks out, all the scoop that he does. And then Christian, of course, is there. And then we got Robin, our ace photographer, was there today at Jordan Hare, and he's got a bunch of shots too. So, guys, it's been a pleasure. Thank you to all of our super chatters. I love you guys. I'll give you guys shout outs on the bunker for that because I don't have that list in front of me here for whatever reason. But I love you guys anyway. It won't be too long before our next show. I promise you that. And we'll see you then. Until then, keep your feet on the ground. Keep reaching for the stars. Keep being a badass. Make great decisions. And make every day a victory. See you guys. Peace.